The Blue Jays and the Red Sox have a history of chasing the Yankees, but not this year. Boston's in first place. Toronto's in third. The Red Sox are counting on production from Everett, Nixon, and Daubach to reverse their recent woes at home. Regional action finds the Indians taking on the Tigers. Wangan in his new park. AL battles next on ESPN 2. Carlos Delgado comes in tonight with 14 homers and looking for more as the Blue Jays try to take down the first-place Red Sox. Most of you will see the action from Fenway. The rest of you will catch slugging Manny Ramirez and the Indians. They've won 7 of 10 in Detroit against the Tigers. Hope you're having a good evening, everybody. Larry Beal in the studio with you for Wednesday Night Baseball as we start on ESPN 2, then move over to ESPN. A total of 15 games on the schedule tonight. We'll keep you busy with all the updates. We're going to be very busy, and Frank Robinson was busy today handing down the law. 16 Dodgers were suspended for their brawl following the incident at Wrigley Field on May the 16th. 3 L.A. coaches also will be forced to sit out. Chad Kruger, who was at the center of the action after getting his hat snatched by a fan, will sit for 8 games. Gary Sheffield, a 5-game penalty. Todd Hundley and Eric Karros will be forced to sit out for 3 games. The Players Association says it will appeal, feeling the sentences are too stiff. And the suspension certainly will be a hot topic of conversation over on ESPN later tonight when the Reds and the Dodgers go at it at 10 p.m. Eastern Time. We will hear from the principals involved. The rest of you around the country will see the Pirates and the Diamondbacks. Up next, we've got the first-place Red Sox and the Toronto Blue Jays from Fenway Park. Chris Berman and Rick Sutcliffe will have the call coming up on Wednesday Night Baseball.
ESPN 2's Wednesday Night Baseball is brought to you by Pfizer, where life is our life's work. By Pep Boys, cars like us, people love us. And by Charbroil, see leading retailers for beautiful grills, beautifully built by Charbroil.
Welcome to the Hub, to Beantown, to the Fens, at historic Fenway Park in Boston, Massachusetts. The Boston Red Sox host the Toronto Blue Jays. The Red Sox, 9 above 500 with the best record in the American League East, ahead of the world champions by 1, and ahead of the Toronto Blue Jays by 4, who last night did the unthinkable, beat Pedro Martinez here at Fenway 3-2. Hi, everybody. I'm Chris Berman along with Rick Sutcliffe. So glad you could be with us on Wednesday Night Baseball. And here are the Boston Red Sox. And the question is, okay, no more Garcia-Pera. He's on the DL. Pedro Martinez, you can pitch only once every 5 days. Are these Nomar, Pedro, and the 23 Dwarfs? I mean, they got to be doing something right because they have the best record in the American League by far.
Well, I get tickled when people talk about what's wrong with Pedro. He pitched 8 innings last night. He gave up 3 runs. There's a lot of guys that can make a terrific career if they could do that consistently. But this is a good ball club. They made one big change over the winter. They had to get more offense out of center field. Last year combined 7 home runs, 39 RBIs was all they got from center field. Already with Carl Everett, 13 home runs, 37 RBIs, and not only does he get hits, Boomer, but he gets clutch hits when needed.
While everybody, Sut, is looking at Boston and the Yankees and Boston, here are the Blue Jays that feel, you know, just maybe, we can unseat everybody in the AL East. Now, you know better than anybody, the momentum in baseball is as good as your next day's starting pitcher. However, they beat Pedro here in the opener of a 3-game set last night. Does this translate into big-time momentum for a ball club?
More importantly than beating Pedro last night was how they beat him. If it had been David Wells against Pedro, it'd been 1-0. Not that big of a deal. But it was one of their young guns, Chris Carpenter, that stepped up and outdueled Pedro Martinez last night. For Toronto to compete, not only does Carpenter have to step up, but tonight's starter Kelvin Escobar and young Peter Monroe have got to step up if this team's going to be legit.
You know what? This is a game that we're going to look back later in this season and say, you know, it's one of those swing games in the pennant. Neither team has their ace going. Pedro last night, Wells tomorrow night. It's the games you win between non-aces that may translate into pennant versus wild card hopeful. And the Toronto Blue Jays and their manager, Jim Belafergosi, looking at the lineup card that He hopes we'll get them game 2 in this 3-game set. Bergosi, second year managing the Toronto Blue Jays. Of course, was in the World Series in the 90s against these Blue Jays when he managed the Philadelphia Phillies. Shannon Stewart will lead off in left field. Craig Grayback had a good night in the field and at the plate last night against Pedro was second. Raul Mondesi is in right field hitting third. Carlos Delgado de Vida is the cleanup hitter. He is a home run hitter, as are so many of these Jays. They lead the AL in home runs. Tony Batista hit number 13 last night. He's at third base. Marty Cordova is the DH. Jose Cruz Jr. starting to warm up at center field. Alex Gonzalez is the shortstop. Alberto Castillo tonight will go against the left-hander for the Boston Red Sox, who's been a great reclamation project. One of the guys I liked the most in the 90s that got a little pub, and that's Jeff Fassero, Rick.
Jeff Fassero last year 5-14. Any team in baseball could have had him during the offseason, but it was the Boston Red Sox, and in particular their pitching coach Joe Kerrigan, that wanted him. These two were together in Montreal when Fassero was successful as a starting pitcher. It was Joe Kerrigan, who we're looking at there, that put him in that role. Fassero was mostly a reliever when he got to the big leagues, kind of a situational type guy. Kerrigan found a nice little sinker. They added a split-finger fastball that put up some big numbers for him as a starter.
We're underway at Fenway. And a strike one from Fassero to Shannon Stewart. Stewart can fly if he gets aboard. Up the middle, and Fassero will field his position perfectly. Over to Daubach, and there's one out.
Take a look at the Red Sox defensively. The thing about coming to Fenway that's so difficult to defense, that home field advantage they talk about that the Red Sox have here, is the outfield. And all of the little nooks and crannies that they have, the triangle out there in right center, those three guys, Troy O'Leary, Carl Everett, and Trot Nixon, play this outfield as well as anybody in baseball today.
Craig Grayback. Couple hits last night. Turned a tough double play late in a one-run ball game. Playing, they really thought off the year that Homer Bush had last year at second base, coming over from the Yankees as part of that Clemens-Wells trade, that it would be Homer. But Homer struggled with the bat, and Grayback is making the most of his opportunities. Scrappy player. You probably remember him earlier in his career with the White Sox. Here's Homer, who he had a good year last year, make no mistake about it. But if you have Shannon Stewart and this guy, Homer Bush, in the lineup, and Mondesi can move, they can get a lot of stolen bases at the top of the order. Grayback, a gritty sort, and sometimes, what do they say, the shortest guy? You know what one thing that he is? I think he's the best golfer on this team. These little guys, they don't have trouble, you know, more can go wrong with our swing and our height.
Don't let his size fool you. This guy has got some pop. He's already hit 3 home runs. He just played in 11 ball games.
Fassero in there for a strike. As we watch Fassero, when he was with Montreal, Joe Kerrigan was the pitching coach there earlier in the 90s, then came over to Seattle, won 16 games for Lou Piniella in 97. He was one of the best unknown strong pitchers in baseball, but something happened, and last year with Seattle and then Texas picking him up, hoping for a little lightning in the bottle in the pennant run. Last year combined an ERA of over 7. That includes giving up 35 home runs. So he's already matched last year's win total. So as we go out tonight, maybe we can look and see what the matchup with Kerrigan, or maybe just a change of scenery, or both, has meant to Jeff Fassero to get off to this start.
One thing Fassero told me before the ball game that Joe Kerrigan did to him was, he said, you know, you're not the same pitcher I had in Montreal. Your arm strength is not that like it was in there. So they lowered that arm angle a little bit.
Seemed to work there. Grayback strikes out.
They lowered the arm angle to create a little bit of movement on the fastball, but this is his out pitch right here. It's a split-fingered fastball. Look at the late downward movement right there. Nice and compact, a lot of confidence, a little bit lower, kind of in that three-quarter slot. A good follow-through, and it shows you the confidence he has in that split finger when you can throw it 3-2, knowing Raul Mondesi and Carl Delgado are on their way up.
Here is Raul Mondesi, coming over from the Dodgers in the much heralded offseason trade that sent Sean Green to L.A. And I frankly think, as Facero busts ahead of him early here, I frankly think that Mondesi was a little bit misunderstood. Of course, it's 0-2, and we may not get into this discussion right now, but Jim Fregosi says, hey, nobody works harder every day, every play than him at the plate and in right, where his arm is one of the best in baseball.
Well, I think in L.A. they just wanted more. They were never happy with anything that Raul Mondesi gave them. Jim Fregosi told him over here, he says, where do you want to play and where do you want to hit? Mondesi said, I'm more comfortable in right field, where he's won a couple of Gold Gloves, and I like hitting third. Fregosi said, that's the end of our conversation.
Well, down 0-2. Mondesi has worked the count to a full count. None on. Toronto first. 2 out. Place packed last night when Pedro took the hill. 33,000 plus, the biggest crowd they've had thus far. But another dank night in Boston. This will be far from a sellout, but Facero did what Pedro could not do last night. A 1-2-3 first inning, couple of Ks. Maybe we just have our nights mixed. Boston, Jimmy Williams, who's taken these Red Sox to 2 straight 90-win seasons. The last time that happened was those great teams they had in the 70s. So 2 straight seasons in the playoffs for Jimmy Williams, 3 years plus at the helm. In Boston, they call that pretty darn good. His lineup tonight, Jose Offerman will be the DH, with Facero throwing maybe more ground balls. They want some fielding. Offerman is starting to warm up a little bit at the plate. John Valentin just missed a couple of homers last night. I got a gut feeling he's going deep tonight. Trot Nixon is right field, hitting third. Brian Daubach is the cleanup hitter at first base, and Carl Everett putting up some marvelous numbers. Ricky talked about him in the open, is in center field hitting fifth. Troy O'Leary, after 100 RBI season, scuffling at the plate in left field. Jeff Fry is the start at second base. Jason Varitek has become a pretty darn good player behind the plate, hitting eighth. And with Nomar on the DL at least until Saturday, Donnie Sargent Sadler up from Pawtucket to spell. Nomar is hitting ninth at shortstop against the young pitcher for the Toronto Blue Jays with some big-time stuff, Kelvin Escobar.
And you know what? For a youngster, just 24 years of age, some big-time numbers last year. His first year as a full-time starter at the big league level, this guy won 14 ball games. Got a terrific fastball, upper 90s, trying to work on a 2-seam fastball. He and pitching coach Rick Langford trying to work on that, the 2-seam fastball, what they call a surrender pitch. When you throw it, you want the ball put in play. The movement's supposed to be down. You're supposed to take advantage of your infield. That'll cut down on the number of pitches for Escobar, get him deeper into the ball game, and hopefully for Toronto, more wins than last year.
Jose Offerman came over and became an all-star last year, got off to a marvelous start. He's not gotten off to the same sort of start, although he's put together a hitting streak the last week and a half. I mean, he was put in the unfair position last year, essentially, and they didn't bring him over for this, but Mo Vaughn out, Jose Offerman in. So the fans were not on his side to begin with, but he got one of the warmest ovations when he was introduced as an all-star on that magical night here at Fenway, which will be forever remembered with the players of the century and Pedro striking out 5 of the 6 that he faced. But Offerman will never forget that night for different reasons, because if ever a guy was put in an unfair position, he was, and he really delivered. However, he hasn't delivered against Escobar, whose stuff can really explode, so a strikeout right away, son.
Take a look at the Toronto Blue Jays defensively out there in center field. Jose Cruz Jr. Even though offensively he's not been able to concentrate on an at-bat basis, but he has had terrific concentration defensively. Here's the play last night. This could have broke the game open, gotten Boston back into it, possibly a lead for Pedro Martinez. But look at that play, high up on the wall. And Boomer, one thing about the Green Monster here in Fenway, Unlike a lot of ballparks that are padded, that wall doesn't give. When you run into that, you're going to be hurting the next day. You've got to be determined. You got to want that baseball. And Jose Cruz Jr. did last night.
It's not called the Green Friend. It's called the Green Monster. And that ball that he caught was off the bat of this man, Rick, John Valentin. Johnny Val spent a lot of time rehabbing his knee, just trying to get it stronger. It won't really be strong for a couple of months. When the games are over, then he goes and really works hard on it. So he's here for night games long after most everybody except the last couple of guys cleaning up the park have left. I mean, he says, I need to do it when it's warm. It's not a question of sleeping in, and doing it at 11 a.m. does not help me. It's tendonitis and a little scar tissue, but they need him in there. They need his veteran leadership, because you saw what veteran sort of performance he gave last postseason when he was a monster, as he was, I might add, in '98 postseason. Two and two the count to Johnny Val from Seton Hall in Jersey City, New Jersey. Count is full. We watch young Escobar. It's not so much that he's wild, Rick. I think at times he's gotten himself in trouble by the ball just being up, right?
As it was again. The 2-2 is the two-seam fastball. It ran in and up to John Valentin. That right there was the split finger fastball. When you throw an off-speed pitch 3-2, as Jeff Fassero did, if you miss down, the hitter might think fastball and commit and help you. But you can see how high that pitch started. Right away, Valentin says he cannot get that pitch back to the strike zone, and therefore he takes the base on balls. I think with Escobar, he's so strong physically. Sometimes he almost jumps at home plate. He needs to be a little bit calmer with those legs so that he can pitch down in the zone. You can see how well he's put together. I mean, that's when you look for a young pitcher, that's what you want. I mean, those muscles just rippling in those legs, but you got to be calm with those legs to get the fastball down where you want it.
Very athletic, 6'1", 210 from Venezuela, but ball up high. Roberto Castillo and third baseman Tony Batista to go talk to Escobar and settle him down a little bit as he works behind in the count to Trot Nixon. Escobar in his last start against Chicago was overpowering in the first two innings, striking out 4 or 5 guys, and then all of a sudden it was as if it was another night. It's not like they hammered him. He seemed to be another pitcher, and I guess that's what being young on the mound sometimes can be about.
I would imagine pitching coach Rick Langford will be coming out here pretty quick, because he continues to make the same mistake, Boomer. If you're a young pitcher and you throw a high fastball, there's got to be an adjustment you make so that the next one is not high as well.
Well, that's all high. So since he was 2-2 to Valentin, 6 balls, and Trot Nixon appropriately trots to first base, and they're 2 on for Brian Daubach.
What happens right here when your fastball's up like that, your arm is not getting into position out front for you to release it down. Normally, I mean, that's the result. We can all see that. Well, the reason happens long before that. It's normally your stride is too long. You land on your heel, and that's when your leg is stiff and it pushes you backward. You got to land on the toe of your foot, so you shorten your stride. That helps you get out front. Escobar just continuing to do the same thing over and over.
We talked at the beginning about these were not Nomar and Pedro and the 23 dwarfs. Up high again to Brian Daubach. The maturation, and this time Delgado will go in to talk with us about the maturation of Daubach, Nixon, and Jason Varitek at the plate. Another year in, they went into the postseason. They themselves didn't deliver as they did all year, but they have much more confidence. Talking to a couple of the Red Sox veterans, just confidence. They said you can just see it. They're good players and good hitters last year, but it's the way they carry themselves. And Daubach is a big, muscular fellow who lays off this pitch. And another ball, 8 straight balls. Now, last night, the guns, or even the pop guns, didn't get it done. Last 4 games, runners in scoring position not brought in for Jimmy Williams, although they have been doing that all year long. You're going to go through some pockets. Last night they were 0 for 13, as you saw. There's a strike. Gives us a chance to tell you that Jeff Nelson is working the plate. Darrell Cousins is at first. Alfonso Marquez is at second. And Mike Van Vliet is at third. Kind of a new foursome for us. Darrell we know a little bit. Maybe Jeff Nelson is at the Yankees. Jeff Nelson trying to get a beat on the Red Sox for this weekend, doing some scouting.
He doesn't need to umpire. He's got 6 victories already.
3-1. The count to Daubach.
Well, this is a great time right here for that 2-seam fastball. It's a sinking type fastball. You get something on the ground. You got a 90-foot square out there in the infield, and counting yourself, there's 5 gloves to make a play for you.
Daubach green lighting it, swings through it, and now the count is full.
Daubach might have helped him a little bit here. With a count 3-1, you want something on the inner half that you can pull out of the ballpark. Escobar, look how strong he is. You can almost see when his hands break that his arm, as it goes back, I think a grown man could stand on that arm. There's so much tension there. When you get strong like that, you get slow. You got to stay relaxed up top.
Fouled off. We'll do it again.
Oh, but that right there, Boomer, that shows you what great stuff this kid has got. You got a good hitter. I mean, Daubach's hot right now. 329, 8 homers, 30 RBIs. You got a 3-1 count and a 3-2 count. You know you're getting a fastball. He gets the fastball, and he can't do anything with it. That's electric. That's a good fastball. I don't care what the radar gun says.
Walked another one. So a walk to Valentin, a walk to Nixon, now a walk to Daubach has given the Red Sox bases loaded with 1 out, and Carl Everett, the dangerous Carl Everett, coming up. And here's that visit you talked about. The one-time Oakland A's pitching standout for Billy Martin. Rick Langford, pitching coach here for Jim Fregosi, coming to the mound.
You know, Rick Langford, back when he was the pitcher for the Oakland A's. We'll take a look here at Escobar. Here's the split-fingered fastball. He kind of give up on his regular fastball after throwing it by Daubach. I'm not real sure the thinking on that process. Probably the reason Rick Langford's out there to talk to him. But Rick Langford back with those Oakland ball clubs.
Ooh, I
20.
like that staff.
Oh, 26 complete games, I think it was back then. The number
Remember
of pitches.
that staff? Mike Norris, Rick Langford,
Steve McCaddy,
Matty Keogh, and Brian Kingman. But all their arms were gone in a couple years, weren't they?
Well, they had that, they called it the fork ball, and then they were always accused of that super fork ball. You know, that one that you could watch on replay, their fingers were right together. I mean, normally on a fork ball, your fingers are spread. But those guys were getting fork ball movement, and nobody, well, everybody knew how.
It was the tuning fork ball. At any rate, back to the issue at hand. And Carl Everett looks at ball 1. Everett, and you see the numbers he has put up, and he was out for a few days. He's coming back this past weekend. Series against the Tigers. Deal they made, Dan Duquette made to get Everett over here. Down the line, Delgado will go to Gonzalez. They try to turn it the hard way. They do not. And the Red Sox are on the board 1-0. That's a tough double play. It's not hit that hard. And so with the fielder's choice, 1 run is in. Runners at the corners with 2 out for Troy O'Leary.
The ball was hit hard enough, Boomer, to turn the double play. The problem, I thought, was Delgado's throw. He just did not get anything on it. It's almost like he threw a changeup. Look at it hanging up there. It's just slow. It's high. Gonzalez doing everything he could do, but the time it took for Delgado's throw to get to second, the reason Everett was able to beat the throw back to first.
There aren't that many of the Red Sox that run that well, but Everett is one of them, Rick. You're right. That was hit hard enough. Delgado made the nice turn. He's become a much better fielding first baseman. I mean, let's not make any mistake about it. he may never be confused with Don Mattingly or Keith Hernandez or Wes Parker, but he's, I mean, he used to field like Fess Parker over there, but he's much better player at first. But you're right, the throw did hang up, and as a result, the Red Sox on the board, and Escobar's not out of it yet.
That was the same kind of play that Carl Everett pulled that quadriceps muscle in Baltimore, beating out a double play ground ball. There's a lot of leg injuries on this Boston Red Sox team, and you think, well, what's wrong? Weren't these guys in shape when the season started? Well, they were in shape, and they were used to playing in that hot Florida sun. They haven't seen the sun here in Boston yet.
Hit by Troy O'Leary pretty well to right, but Mondesi, it's going to take a big blast with heavy air and little raindrops around to get it out of here. Escobar wriggled free, but the Red Sox lead 1-0.
I was about 7 years old, and we were all over at Aunt Margaret's for dinner. I remember the day because I spilled my milk, which doesn't seem like a big deal now. But back then, it felt like the end of the world.
Whoops.
Oh, that's okay, sweetie. It's just an accident, huh? They said, oops. I made a mess, and my parents said, oops. They really considered my feelings. I'll always remember that.
Despoblado, the unpeopled place. This is the Rio Grande, just as it was 200 years ago. Then it was believed that only the native Indians could survive here for long. Running 1,855 miles, including the entire Texas-Mexico border, the Rio Grande has been dammed to a trickle along much of its length. But for 250 miles, much of it in Big Bend National Park, the Rio Grande still runs wild. And it is here that the hardy and adventurous can still experience the thrill of confronting the land their forebears called Despoblado.
Well, welcome to late March here in New England. We had summer for about 4 days, and the rest of it's been like this, gray, dank. And Carlos Delgado will lead it off for the Blue Jays, who trail at 1-0 as we begin the second inning at Fenway Park. Delgado, one of those guys like Sean Green. Could they keep either one last year? Well, guess what? They get Mondesi in the trade. They spend big money for Delgado. The Blue Jays want to compete. Here's a guy that has done nothing but mash the ball the last 3 years, and I mean mash it over the fence.
There might be people as strong in the game of baseball, but there's nobody stronger.
They play him routinely. No shift with Facero pitching tonight. A 1 pitch, 1 out. As Delgado grounds it to Donnie Sadler at short. We check in for the first time tonight with Larry Beal. Larry.
Thanks, Chris. Seattle and Baltimore. Sidney Ponson on the mound. Got some trouble. M's with 2 men on. Edgar Martinez born to hit down the line past a diving Cal Ripken Jr. It's a double to score Mark McLemore. Edgar hitting .367, number 2 in the American League. 1-0 M's now in the second.
All right, Larry, thank you for keeping us posted all night long. Baseball. A lot going on tonight. Tony Batista, who has put the name of his, you see his number, see it, number 12 last night, off of Pedro, down the left field line in the screen, and we'll talk about his stance the next time up, because they are quick swinging and not delivering this far this inning against Jeff Facero. 2 groundouts to Donnie Sadler at short. No, I mean, that's one of the reasons you see Fry in there at second base tonight. With Facero, the way he's pitching and what you've described, Rick, I don't know that it's quite the transformation of, let's say, a lefty that we remember and love like Frank Tanana, who was a pure power and then became a real off-speed. I don't think either end of Facero was quite that way. He wasn't quite as powerful as Tanana, if he were. Nor is he lollipopping, but Tanana won games that way. But still, the transformation is interesting. Many more ground balls for Facero. 3 groundouts and 2 strikeouts. This is Marty Cordova. who was with the Red Sox in spring training. They couldn't keep him. He found a home in Toronto. He's the DH tonight against the lefty. Brad Fulmer often DH'd, but they put the righty Cordova in there. That's some good years with the Twins. Cordova with the Corinthian left. Looking for bat out of him tonight.
They also do the same thing with their catching position. Alberto Castillo back there because of the left-handed pitcher. He with the right-handed bat. The right-handed pitcher on the mound, as it was last night with Pedro Martinez. It'll be the left-handed hitting catcher, Darren Fletcher. That routine really worked well for Fletcher last year. Only 110 games caught and career-high offensive numbers.
Popped up by Cordova to center field. First fly ball out of the night, but 6 up, 6 down. Donuts thus far for the Blue Jays. 8. Sunday Night Baseball. Pedro and the Red Sox in Yankee Stadium against the one-time Boston Warrior, now the Rocket Man, 250-plus wins. Pedro and the Rocket, they met in the playoffs. They'll meet again on Sunday Night Baseball. And you know what? You can talk about a lot of, this matchup's going to be great and this and that. But this one, I mean this one, you really, really might want to tune in for.
I'll be there.
Me too. Alex Gonzalez to Carlos Delgado, and Jeff Fry has grounded out to short. So maybe Escobar taking a page out of Facero. Jimmy Williams, and he saw Pedro, what was that, 12-1 or 13-1, whatever that game was, the playoff game when Pedro pitched against Roger here last October. That was a walk-off early decision, but this shall be intriguing, no?
Yeah.
Yankee Stadium, night game, Yankees, Red Sox. Oh boy.
Joe Torre during the playoffs last year talking about we didn't lose a game in the playoffs. Well, they lost one to Pedro, but he said that doesn't count. He beats everybody.
Ripped for a base hit by Jason Varitek. So Varitek, who came into the game hitting at .308, has continued to show. When you get production like that at the 8-hole, at 300 hitter, you're going places.
I really like what Jimmy Williams has done with his lineup. With Varitek hitting 8, he's doing one thing. He knows that Varitek needs to be part of the starting rotation first, part of the lineup second. So you hit him down in the order, so you take a lot of pressure off of him. You don't expect a lot down there. With Nomar Garcia-Parra out, the temptation would be to move him up, but I think that would be taking the emphasis off of his catching duties and putting him on hitting, and that would be wrong.
Johnny Sadler, the shortstop, a base hit. So number 8 and number 9 get sharp singles. And the Red Sox in business with one out here in the second. Here's Le Review.
Aloha, Boomer. Cleveland and Detroit. Rookie Tim Drew saying aloha in his big league debut for the Tribe. Aloha didn't mean goodbye, but it did mean Bobby Higginson with a double scoring Greg Jeffries and Juan Gonzalez. Tigers trying to win their 4th in a row, Boomer. 2-0 Motown.
You know what, Larry? The Tigers, but they can't beat like the Twins. But they sweep the Yankees. They go 2-1 against Boston. They beat the Tribe last night. They only played well against good teams. Here's a roll. Jays again cannot turn the double play. As the throw from Gonzalez high, Sadler went into second base, and Offerman beats it out.
Well, you got to give the tall grass on the infield here at Fenway the assist for this not being a double play. It's tough for the Toronto Blue Jays to come off of AstroTurf at the Sky Dome and have their timing down on this slower grass here. Graybeck did everything he could, as did Gonzalez, but when you're not on turf, that's not going to be a double play with any kind of speed.
So the Red Sox with runners at the corners were 2 down for John Valentin, who walked and scored the game's only run. It's way up high to Johnny B. Valentin hitting at .316, as you can see. Just his 6th ball game, 20th at bat in the season. Although Wilton Veras did a nice job at third. I mean, this is a veteran who understands what it is to be a winner.
And he produces. 90% of the time in situations like this, he's going to take 3 good rips at the baseball.
You know, the Red Sox, when Kevin Kennedy was managing, and he made the playoffs for the first time in a while in '95, and now in '98 and '99 with Jimmy. And Valentin is really about what you have from all 3 of those teams. That's about it.
I think he got wrongly criticized for his numbers last year. He played on one leg. He only hit 250, but he drove in 70 runs in 113 ball games. I mean, he's not getting a lot of hits, but he's getting big hits, and those are always more important.
He decided to play when others might have had the surgery and cashed it in. We talk about big hits. We'll talk about it after this 1-1 pitch. Snap throw by Castillo, and that was actually pretty close to Offerman. But last year against Cleveland, Valentin was 7 for 22, 318 with 3 homers, 12 ribbies. Against the Yankees, 8 for 23, 348. I'm talking about the postseason with a homer and 5 ribbies. 98 against Cleveland, 7 for 15, 467. So the bigger the game, the grittier he becomes. Hits this one high into short center field, and the shortstop Alex Gonzalez is there, and the Red Sox lead 2 more on. Leads just 1-0.
Peanuts, cashews, pistachios, fresh stuff here. Fresh roasted peanuts, fresh roasted peanuts, everyone.
I gotta think I bought peanuts from that guy at some point. You know what? See those seats there, about 5 rows up in the bleachers? You could see both bullpens. So that's where I sat for many a game. It was $1 or maybe $1.50, and you know, you warmed up out there, but especially when the game was going and both bullpens were going. Those are pretty good seats. You watched Dwight Evans, you real close to him and right.
Did you have conversation with the pitchers? Or,
oh yeah, it depended, you know, how late in the game.
Who were some of your favorite pitchers to watch?
You know who I liked and who ended up being a real hero here in Boston? Not a big name. Well, one we'll talk about in a moment, because I came looking for that last night. You know who was an opposing pitcher who always talked to the fans? Remember Rick Waits with Cleveland?
Sure, yeah.
He would
Waiters, right? Played with him, 82, 83.
He became, you know, a huge favorite up here because he beat the Yankees on the last day of the '78 season, allowing the Red Sox to get in the playoffs in a game won by 10. He said, "You tell the people of Boston I'm doing it for them." So he was a hero forever on. But speaking, I knew you were leading me into Louis Tiant warming up out there. It's Jose Cruz. When Louis Tiant warmed up, it was a religious experience. When he warmed up out there in the bullpen, he would take that walk at whatever it was, 7:28 for a 7:35 start. Ground ball by Cruz, and they had him play deep in the hole to center. It was a base hit. He would take that walk in, and it would take 10 minutes. And he had that chaw, and he had that swagger, and the whole 33,000 people.
You're standing opposite.
Oh, man, it was just a religious experience in here, much like it is for Pedro now. It just was. It was special times here. That walk in from the pen, you really thought it was Ali getting in the ring. You really did.
You had a little flashback last night, didn't you?
I was hoping to. But Pedro gave up a couple of hits right away, and everyone was deflated.
No, but I mean, you at the ballpark last night.
Had that hat pulled way low. Not that many people recognized me.
I think that's great. I mean, you could sit anywhere you want in the stadium, and yet you wanted to be amongst the fans. I mean,
of course.
You got to hide a little bit, don't you?
Yeah, I do, but I enjoyed that. It's why we're baseball fans, all of us, I think.
I love it.
Alex Gonzalez is the batter, and thank you for letting me kind of maybe hallucinate. Who knows? This one, the Red Sox. Sadler makes the turn on a play made by Jeff Fry. Gonzalez is doubled up, 2 out. Another ground ball, Sut.
Yeah, and Hal Facero, he not only created that with his arm angle, but he also creates it with his back leg. Joe Kerrigan wanted to keep him more upright. He thought he was bending that leg too much. So one of the drills that they do when they throw on the side, take a look at him right here. Look at his leg right here. Look how straight up and down it is as he goes. Look at that right there. There's no collapsing. Used to be that thing would get into that position there, and that's when everything flattened out. He didn't have enough downward angle throwing into the strike zone. It was easy to center the baseball. So what Kerrigan does, he puts a knee brace on the left knee of Facero when he throws on the side. Kerrigan laces it up himself. He wants it as tight as he can get it so that Facero remembers to stay straight. Even though you're not real tall, think about staying tall.
Alberto Castillo just reaches out, but Trot Nixon trots over to make the play in right. And Facero and the Sox clinging to their 1-0 lead. Bottom of the third, and the Red Sox lead at 1-0. Middle game of this 3-game set. Toronto winning 3-2, beating Pedro Martinez last night. They'll have their ace, David Wells, going tomorrow. 3-4-5 for Boston. Trot Nixon, Brian Daubach, Carl Everett, Kelvin Escobar. Red Sox have stranded 4 men already tonight. They left 10 on last night. Well, they do have the 1-0 lead, and Facero looking very sharp. Runs. Let's face it, they don't have their big thumper, Nomar Garciaparra, in the lineup. It's as well as this middle of the lineup Rick has played. And Nomar is hopeful he's eligible to come off the DL Saturday in New York. Oddly enough, the same day Derek Jeter can come off the DL. He's hopeful to be back in there. And look at Escobar. Here he was. He took BP. Talked to him for a while. When I talked to him briefly, he didn't really know for sure I can come back. He was hopeful, right? Or to give you a 100% answer.
He told me that if he didn't, he was flat going to drive everybody crazy on the bench. He says, mentally, I'm just going nuts. Physically, I'm getting better. Didn't say that he was 100%.
No, he did not. It wasn't like, I'm ready to go now. I can't wait for Saturday.
You know, but as a former pitcher, when I look at this lineup without him in it, you know, there's ways to get through that lineup.
Yes, oh yeah.
But you put him in there, you got problems.
We mentioned Jeter coming back, or he could come back Saturday. Here's what the teams have done without their respective young shortstops, young all-star, young MVP type shortstops. You know, we are just fortunate as baseball fans. We had A-Rod. I mean, the shortstop position, we may never have another era like we have right now at that position. Guys who can field and hit like they do, and lead and respect the game of baseball like they do. Hey, oh, by the way, this is the stuff we were talking about for Kelvin Escobar. Number 3 hitter, number 4 hitter, sit down.
And Boomer, I don't think it's a coincidence that all of this stuff started when pitching coach Rick Blankford came to the mound in the bottom of the first inning, bases loaded, only 1 out. He said something to Escobar about his mechanics. He threw a strike, almost got a double play to get out of it without any runs scored. He goes through a scoreless second, and now he's just dominating the heart of the lineup for Boston here in the third.
Strike to Carl Everett. It's like a different pitcher. Looks like a totally different pitcher.
You know, you can't go out and tell him, hey, get the ball down. A good pitching coach will go out and tell him how to get the ball down, what he's doing wrong.
Just misses outside, 1-1. You know, it's not as if Escobar is gone early. In 5 of his 9 starts, he's gone at least 7 innings this year, including the last 3 starts.
I was talking with Jim Rice, the great hitting instructor, former great hitter for the Boston Red Sox, about Carl Everett, and he said it looks like there's a lot of movement, but he said he's got slow legs, quick hands, and that's a good combination for a hitter.
Ball inside, 3-1.
Got pretty quick reflexes, too. That fastball with some giddy up on it on the inner half of the plate. He had to pull back.
Think Jim Rice could hit it all, Rick?
Still.
Count is now full to Everett.
I think that's part of the reason when I look at the lineup for the Red Sox without Nomar in it, take a look at this split-fingered fastball. Look at the downward movement. He's got it where he wants it. But this lineup doesn't scare me like the one I faced with Rice
Well,
and
let me ask you
Lynn and
this.
Evans. And
Supposing Rice was in this lineup right now. Well, there's a base on balls. He had it really going, did Escobar, but Everett was patient. And with 2 strikes, was able to work his way for a base on balls. So the 4th walk by Escobar.
These things happen right here. Look at the location of this pitch. You'll take that every time. It wasn't on the corner where Castillo wanted, more down the heart of the plate, a little bit down. But that's a pitch that you can make a lot of money with in that area.
Troy O'Leary swings and misses. He flew out to right field to end the 1st inning with a couple runners aboard. O'Leary really scuffling. He's become a pretty good left fielder. It certainly is an art form to play in left field here in Fenway. But at the plate, he has not been the player that he's been the last couple of years for Boston. Although, when you say, you know, pretty good left fielder in Boston, Williams, Yaz, Rice, this is some pretty big shoes. Pretty big shoes. Mike Greenwell did a nice job out there. I don't mean to put him in the category of the first 3, but Greeny was a very good player here. As a matter of fact, was the last outfielder to have 100 RBIs for the Red Sox until O'Leary did last year. Greeny did that back in '88. .51 pitches. He's getting up there.
That's a bunch, and he's only got 8 outs.
As opposed to Pissarro, who had 7 in each of the last 2 innings. He's given up only back-to-back hits to Varitek and Saturn in the 2nd. But he had the 4 walks. 6 base runners. Still in the 3rd.
You know, you almost got to try to give up runs in conditions like this. You got high infield grass. You got the wind blowing in. The ball's not carrying. You don't walk anybody. You should be in good shape. But it was 3 base on balls in the 1st inning that led to the only run of the ball game thus far. And Escobar right back in that base on ball mode that he was then. Looks like he's trying to give up more.
Well, he doesn't pitch well, but there are 2 men on, I think. Here goes the runner. Oh, it's drilled down the right field line. Will it stay fair? Try to curve it around Pesky's pole did Troy O'Leary. It just could not stay fair.
Part of Jimmy Williams' style is to stick with young guys even when they're struggling. He did that last year in the month of April with Trot Nixon. He's doing that right now with Troy O'Leary. O'Leary's played in more games than any other Red Sox player. But when you look at the box score tomorrow, it might not say that Troy O'Leary did anything. But look at that baseball right there. When you're going bad, that thing's foul by 5 feet. When you're going good, you're jogging.
Now Everett certainly will be running, but now he will be trotting because another walk. And so now there are 2 on. Everett to second, O'Leary to first, and Jeff Fry up. The bewilderment of Jim. That's a great shot for Gossi.
Well, he knows that his starting pitcher is throwing a lot of pitches that he really doesn't need to throw. Kelvin Escobar plays catch at 90 miles an hour. I mean, if he wants to get a little bit more, he can get it close to 100, but playing catch at 90 with a little bit of movement, oh, how nice would that be?
Yeah.
Bergozzi has told Escobar that. They work on it constantly on the side, but he's out there on that mound tonight all by himself.
Seven men on and 2 2/3. Still, the Red Sox have had only 1 run thus far. Can Jeff Fry deliver? There's ball 1 to Fry. Hits the outside corner for a strike. Jim Fergosi used 5 pitchers last night. Carpenter went 5 2/3. Quantrill came in. Pretty much used as all the guys in the bullpen for Bone, Frascatore, and Cox to close it. Certainly with Olde Escobar goes his usual 7, although he's laboring hard here through 3. Fry, a little over with a base hit. Actually, that'll carry a long way. Everett scores. O'Leary being held at 3rd, and Fry has driven in the 2nd run of the night. 2-0 Boston.
Boomer, they still haven't figured out a way to defense the base on balls. There's just nobody that can help you there. But Raul Mondesi right here gets a great jump on this ball. That's hard to do when you're watching your pitcher throw ball after ball after ball. But if Mondesi does not get to that ball, 2 runs would have scored. Fry would have been in scoring position, and his starting pitcher would be even more trouble than he is right now.
Runners on the corners again, and Jason Varitek, who signaled sharply to right field his first time up, will be at the plate and swinging for the down. Strike 1.
You know, I've never been in a clubhouse with Raul Mondesi after a game or before the game to, you know, see any of the problems that they talked about in L.A. But I've watched him play a lot of baseball, and he does nothing wrong between the lines. There's nobody that plays the game any harder than he does. He just proved it right there, going after that ball in the gap. I mean, it's not going to show up as an RBI for him in the box score tomorrow, but he just saved the Toronto Blue Jays a run.
Snap throw by Castillo and a good catcher-like play by Delgado. Keep, well, I guess for Toronto I can say this. He kept the puck in front of him.
He's done this before. He came up as a catcher. Look at that form right there. Get the glove below the ball. You can always bring it up. More difficult to push it back down. You got your body there, which he sacrificed. You know, now's where errors and mistakes happen with catchers, because you know your pitcher's struggling. You try to do a little too much to get him out of that jam, and that's what Castillo tried right there.
Chopper to second. Great bet. Not in time, and a run scores. O'Leary scores, and they had Varitek played deeper in the hole, and that time Varitek going up the middle, a slow chopper, and he talked about the timing. Daubach just couldn't make the play.
I think his timing's off a little bit. I think he needed to take a different angle at that ball. Look at him go back right there. His last move, he took a step back to get the ball on a good hop. He needed to keep coming towards that ball. If you don't come up with it, the run's going to score anyway. You step back, Fry hustles to beat the throw, and you're going to give up the run. I think the clock of the infield right now, particularly Daubach, just off for the Toronto Blue Jays. He should have come and got that ball right there, but look at him veer back. Now he's going more towards center field than left field, as he should have been to have made that force play.
Well, the Red Sox over 3 games were 0 for 13 with runners in scoring position. They now have had 2 straight hits, but not 3 straight hits. Sadler fouls out to Castillo behind the plate. Boston breaks through with 2 outs for a 3-0 lead. One of the landmarks here in Boston, the Prue, as they call it, the Prudential Center, Copley Square, skyline of Boston. Usually a little bit nicer weather by about 20 degrees by steamrolling toward Memorial Day weekend, but not the case yet here in New England. An odd spring, very early spring here in late spring. Sounds like something Yogi would say. Boy, spring comes late here early. Something like that. So now Toronto down 3 runs against Jeff Fassero, who has been not only economical, but very strong with his pitching tonight. Ground ball after ground ball on the top of the lineup for the Blue Jays. Shannon Stewart grounded back to the pitcher to start the game.
If you're Toronto right now, you'd like to get a couple of guys on base. Give your starting pitcher some time to rest. He threw a lot of pitches in that last inning. On the other hand, if you're Jeff Fassero, You want to go 1, 2, 3, get your offense to work again.
Breaking ball inside. 1 and 2. It's tapped wide of third base coach Terry Bevington, former manager of the White Sox. Bobby Knopp is the coach at first.
Fregosi actually has 3 former managers on his coaching staff. Lee Elia, Terry Bevington, as you mentioned, and also Cito Gaston.
That's a great story. Cito here. It's an amazing story, actually. Cito, the batting coach. One of his projects is, there's Bevington. One of Cito's projects is the man at the plate, Shannon Stewart. Cito, who of course managed the Blue Jays to, well, there's Fregosi. Actually, Fregosi was the Phillies manager in '93 against Cito when he managed the Jays. Cito, a gentleman. It was Lee Elia Kuriakin, one-time manager of the Cubs. These guys, these people work for a living, right? Remember that when things were not going well?
I'm telling you, I've heard that tape.
Stewart ripped to left field, but coming on is O'Leary. The first hard-hit ball we've had tonight off Facero, but 1 down. Here's Larry Beal.
All right, Chris, Seattle and Baltimore in the 4th. Edgar Martinez, we showed you his RBI double earlier. He just owns Sidney Ponson. 6 of 8 lifetime against Sidney. Edgar's 14th homer of the year. Makes it 3-0 M's now in the 4th.
The term, Larry, professional hitter can be overused, but Rick, Edgar Martinez at the place year after year.
He's one of the main reasons I'm sitting beside you right now. I never could get him out.
You're not alone.
Oh.
Greg Graybeck. You made very good points about the clock. The timing seems to be off in the infield. Although last night they were on. Graybeck turned a big double play late in the game.
When you get on AstroTurf, it speeds your clock up about a half second. Ball gets to you quicker. Runners get down the first base line a little bit quicker. But good infielders just know when to speed up and they know when to slow down. I think Graybeck just took the wrong angle at that ground ball. You got to come get it. If you don't come up with it, the run's going to score anyway.
Strikes his home plate umpire Jeff Nelson. Facero's longest start this year. He's only gone 7 innings once. That was his last start Friday. 7 shutout, 4-hit innings against Detroit. And oddly enough, you usually have this conversation with Pedro. Facero's the last guy to have won a game for Boston. That'll be fun. And so now he's trying to come back. Usually Pedro was 5-0 after a Red Sox loss until last night. But here's Facero trying to be the guy that, boy, if you can have Pedro Martinez, and on the rare times that he doesn't deliver a big-time number 2 starter, you're just not going to have any losing streaks of any proportion. Right? I mean, that's the greatest thing you can have is, okay, we beat Koufax a couple times around. Oh, there's Drysdale.
You look at the numbers in Jeff Facero's last 3 starts. He's 2-0, 19 innings, an ERA of 1.89. That's that guy you're talking about.
Plus the ball staying in the yard. Big time for it. Which, my goodness, he was hammered for homers the 2 years before this. Keep the ball down and in like that on Graybeck, and you're not going to give up any homers. There's a strikeout. Here's Raul Mondesi.
One of the things Joe Kerrigan talks about is the chase zone. The counts and the pitches that certain hitters will help you out in. Here's Raul Mondesi. That yellow part is what the strike zone is. The red part is the chase zone. That's where you can exploit Raul Mondesi with certain counts. In his first at bat, 3-2 count, is he going to help you? Absolutely he does. And in that very location that Joe Kerrigan talked about. So with Raul Mondesi in certain counts, if you need to get a strike, you don't have to throw a pitch in the strike zone to get that. Nobody has more charts than Jimmy Williams and Joe Kerrigan. They know those situations.
More than Ross Perot's graphs?
Well, I don't know. In baseball, I should say. But Kerrigan, he knows 85% of the time with a count 2-0, Mondesi's going to swing at the pitch. So what you do, you throw something that looks like a strike that has movement out of the zone.
Mondesi with a base hit up the middle. Only the second safety for the Blue Jays on the night. That was not in the chase zone.
Mondesi can handle anything in the strike zone. Becerra was ahead in the count. That's not where he wanted it.
No, not bad, though. That was the hack zone.
Like to have it a little bit more down than that. You know, and occasionally you got to keep them honest, too. I mean, those zones were away. You're trying to expand the zone off the plate in that area or down. You got to throw a fastball in sometimes for effect, and then you go right back out there where you need to.
So 2 out. Joe Kerrigan watches his pupil. Jeff Becerra work to the dangerous Carlos Delgado. Delgado, the last 3 years going into this year, 112 home runs the 3 previous seasons, 44 last year, second all-time in one single season for the Jays. And Delgado, I know the Jays haven't been around forever, but you know they've been around 20+ years. Delgado is 4th on the all-time Blue Jay home run list. His idol growing up with George Taco Bell. Fittingly, he's played for Toronto. And fittingly, there's one of the guys that he's trying to pass. Carter, Bell. Well, he'll get there. No question about that.
When I faced Delgado early in his career, he seemed like one of those hitters that wanted to hit home runs 500 feet. Because of that, his zone was a little bigger than it should have been. He's become much more disciplined now. He realizes 400 feet's normally plenty far, and because of it, his average has gone up.
Little chopper. That fly will just eke over to Daubach. And wow, when you get Delgado hitting ground balls, I would say Becerra was on it.
Back at Fenway, bottom of the 4th inning, Red Sox leading 3-0. There's the line on Kelvin Escobar tonight. The arrow on those 5 base on balls for a good reason. That's the difference in this ball game. The 3 runs that have scored all got on base via the base on ball.
So Jose Offerman against Escobar. I mean, for a 3 runs on 4 hits is okay through 3 innings, but it's odd that already here we are only in the 4th and Offerman's up for the 3rd time. That tells you all the base on balls. 5. Little grounder to Graybeck. This will be routine. Timing a little better, although that was routine. 1 up, 1 down.
Trying to figure out why Kelvin Escobar is struggling. There's the hanging splitter, the high fastball. He bounces the splitter once again. Now when he's effective, he set it up by throwing the fastball 4 strikes, coming back with that splitter. But when you can't throw your fastball for a strike, they're not going to chase that off-speed pitch down in the zone. And for the most part, Escobar struggling with command of the fastball.
Starts John Valentin off with a strike. Walked and scored. Popped up to short. 1-1 the count to Johnny Val. 9th season, 33 years of age. Career .283 hitter. 97 led the American League with 47 doubles. A gritty ball player. You see the thing, the monster. You know what I like? We show that scoreboard again. For those, I mean, we've seen Fenway Park on TV many, many, many times, but that scoreboard that's in the wall in left field. It's interesting that the numerical scoreboard, you noticed this last night, so these are the things you notice in the stands. Valentin walked. The old, well, we'll talk about it in a minute because watching his own scoreboard is Larry Beal.
And keeping score, Yankees and White Sox. You know, the White Sox have the second best record in the American League, behind only Boston. Here it comes, and there it goes, the big hurt. Frank Thomas says, hurt me. Hurts Andy Pettit right here, his 8th homer of the year. White Sox with a 1-0 lead, bottom 1.
He's woken up a little bit, has he not? Larry and Rick, you see the bunch at the top of the AL East. The Red Sox, the best record in the American League. It was 1 out, and the Blue Jays 4 out.
How big was that win for Toronto last night? They came into the game 5 games behind the Red Sox.
And just at 500.
They won and went to 4. You lose, it goes to 6. Well, you're down 6. That takes you a couple of weeks to get back. You're down 4. You can do it in a hurry.
This is ripped by Trot Nixon in right field. You know, it's going to take a major league wallop to hit it out that way tonight. The wind now was picked up. Not that it's a lot, but it's right to left. And the air is heavy. This is Willie McCovey will have to hit one to right, I think.
This is the main reason right here that Troy O'Leary is struggling so much. He's a left-handed hitter. He wants to start putting up some offensive numbers. And when he hits it good, it's not good enough here at Fenway during these conditions. Trot Nixon just proved it there. And O'Leary just trying to generate too much power with his body. His swing's gotten big, and the average has gotten small.
Brian Daubach walked and struck out. He swings at the first pitch. And this will just fall into the glove of Shannon Stewart. So fly ball outs by Escobar. The man stranded. 3-0 Boston. If you like baseball, we got you covered.
Well, I know the Mets are at L.A.
Well, are you pitching for the Dodgers with all those suspensions? You were Rookie of the Year for them once.
No, I'm supposed to be there for ESPN2 broadcasting, but
so
we're just
I know we pay all right, but I got to think one spot start can earn you more for a day.
As they say, been there, done that. I had my day in the sun at Chavez Ravine. Those days are over with. Hopefully there'll be some Dodgers there to play the ball game.
That's just a strange one. Here's the stance of Tony Batista, who has brought the names like Dick McAuliffe back to the forefront. And I talked with Jim Fregosi about it. I said, have you ever, give me some stances through your career. And he said, well, I once managed in California and had 2 completely different stances, batting back-to-back on purpose. There's a little blooper by Batista, long run for Sadler. And it'll fall in. He said, I had Dan Ford corkscrewed one way, disco Danny Ford, and then Brian Downing hitting next. It's bizarre, isn't it?
Well, it's certainly a strange one. You look at how open he is, but check out where he ends up. And that's where everybody else ends up. There's nothing different there. For me, you know, your technique has to be the same, but everybody has their own style. It's just like pitchers getting to that release point area. It doesn't matter how you get there, as long as you get there consistently. Batista gets to the position he needs to get to hit. He just does it kind of weird.
You would think as Marty Cordova, this will be, a great effort by Trot Nixon. And he may be hurt. That's, wow. That was more than a trot over there in the corner. What an effort by Trot Nixon. He wanted to see the game from the seats.
Wow. 16 Los Angeles Dodgers got suspended for going into the stands, but it was for a lot different reason. Look at that right there. Unbelievable. Look at the focus on that baseball. Forget about your body. Forget about everything else but trying to make that play and helping your pitcher out. Massaro doing everything he can. Trot Nixon doing more. Boy, the fans right away started hollering for somebody to come down there. Hopefully he just got the breath knocked out of him.
You can make a play as long as you are in the field of play when you go up. In other words, you can't fall into the stands first and catch the ball, but his foot was in that wall. As you saw, a great shot here.
Well, even though he doesn't come up with this play right now, that is my vote for SportsCenter play of the night. You can't ask anything more out of a player than effort.
Plus, he didn't even knock over the sodas there. So now that's someone who really cares about the fans.
And that's a former Red Sox Fenway patron saying it.
I mean, there may be a beer spilled over there, but that was impressive all the way around by Trot Nixon. And we hope you're right. It was just the wind. And now Batista is picked off by Facero, with Daubach throwing to Sadler to finish it.
Jeff Facero looked at Batista and he saw something strange. It's kind of that deer in the headlight look. So he's going to first. But Daubach makes the play. Watch what Daubach does right here. He's off and running. Look at Daubach. He's off and running too. He comes to get the throw. It makes it a shorter throw for Facero, a shorter throw for Daubach, and it's just in time to get Batista. Watch Daubach. Look at him go. He knows. Look at him come get it. Outstanding defensively right there.
Cordova grounds is Sadler to Daubach. You know what? That's an interesting point for youngsters out there playing first base who may not. That's not a play that you would practice very much. Figure, I'm at the bag. We're going to get him picked off. You're a youngster playing first.
You're the first guy that knows that runner is running. Your job as a first baseman is to yell, there he goes. It's not for the pitcher, but you want the catcher to know that. The catcher now, he knows to get in position to throw. But once you're yelling, you can also go help your pitcher by going a little bit closer to him. This Boston Red Sox team, they just find a way to stay in every ball game. They don't beat themselves.
Showing bunt but fouling it off is Jose Cruz Jr.
They remind me so much of the Arizona Diamondbacks in the National League. They're led by, they got a terrific #1 starter. They're led by low-key professionals. Matt Williams in Arizona, he's their leader. Nomar's the leader here. Not a lot of hype. They just go about their job on a daily basis.
This is Daubach completing a very sharp defensive inning for him. Grabbing the grounder by Cruz. Nixon was the one. Outside. 37 feet high, and the net goes 23 feet high, and there's what it looks like inside. And they were packed out there during that home run derby last year with McGuire peppering it. That was unbelievable. It really was, son.
How much fun did you have making those calls?
I ran out of backs. And I didn't even try to do it every home run. I mean, that was unbelievable. I know Griffey won it. He was awesome himself. But McGuire on Lansdowne on Monday night. Ripped in the glove of Delgado, and Everett is gone. One up, one down, one pitch. Larry Beal.
All right, Cleveland and Detroit. Tim Drew, his major league debut for the Tribe. J.D. Drew, his brother, and it didn't last long. There's a shot by Rich Becker. Drew lasts only 1 inning, 4 hits, 3 earned runs. Robbie Alomar homer to make it a 5-3 game. Phils and Astros. Richard Hidalgo with a bomb off of Kurt Schilling. These two teams fighting for keys to the cellar in the National League. 5-0 Astros.
Well, Larry, thank you. This is Troy O'Leary. How about it? Cleveland pitching like rookies. Guys, we don't even know who they are last few days. They wait for their bigger guns to be healthy.
There's some busy general managers. One in New York with the Yankees. They're trying to find a left-handed bat. I hear Boston's trying to find some pitching.
Backhanded by Graybeck. Throw to Delgado, and O'Leary is gone. After our game, next on ESPN2, it's Ravi, Dibbs, and Jason Stark. Baseball tonight. Give me the lowdown on the 19 suspensions of the Dodgers. Chad Courier with 8 games, the one who had his hat stolen and led the charge in the stand. Rangers going for 8 in a row tonight. Andy Pettitte and the Yankees trying to slow down a losing run here by the Yanks at Chicago. Everything on baseball tonight. Following us. It's a labor of love for the guys and ladies at baseball tonight. I'll tell you, we did the shows last night. I have enjoyed doing them through the years. I know our viewers really enjoy the both editions, and now we re-air the late one in the morning, so get those West Coast scores. It involves some late nights for some people involved just to make sure that Mariners game that won 16 innings gets on in the morning. But it's baseball and it should be shown, and we're proud to present it twice nightly. Don't tell me the wave is in Fenway Park. Well, the Red Sox waved goodbye and Calvin Escobar knocks him out 1-2-3. The fans chilly but happy tonight as Jeff Fassero looking up has marked to 6-1. So far, so good for Fassero. Scoreless ball through 5, giving up just 3 Toronto base hits. And he's looking, albeit different. The results are like that pitcher that he was in Montreal and early on with the Seattle Mariners. Pitching to 8-9-1. Alex Gonzalez, Alberto Castillo, Shannon Stewart, and Rick Sutcliffe is the line thus far tonight on Fassero. And I think any pitcher would take the zeros in those 3 spots and the other numbers elsewhere in that ledger.
And there isn't an infielder in all of baseball that wouldn't enjoy playing behind a guy like that. Only 3 of the 15 outs have been recorded by the outfielders. The infielders know, hey, if he's going to throw it, get ready.
So look at Ramon Martinez, who, if and when he gets right,
he's going to be fine.
Yes, he is.
As soon as the weather warms up here, he will be fine. It's just been too cold. The conditions have not been fitting for a guy whose shoulder is it's not 100% yet.
So if you have Pedro and a rejuvenated Fassero, a little chopper to John Ballantyne a third, over to Daubach, and Gonzalez is out. I mean, already, and there's Brett Saberhagen. His rehab's still continuing, but he's pitching up here before he goes back down to Florida to continue. Best ERA in baseball. This is an American League team. Best ERA in baseball. Lowest batting average for an opponent in the majors. Fewest home runs. And, you know, it's not just Pedro Martinez. So if you have Jeff Fassero, who could be 6-1, and Ramon Martinez even approaching what he used to be as a Dodger, and a rejuvenated Pete Sherrick, with Derek Lowe pitching so well out of the bullpen for 5- and 6-out saves. Well, you don't need a lineup that gets you 8 or 9 runs. Another ground ball. Sadler, Daubach, Alberto Castillo is gone. 2 out.
I was talking with Nomar before the game about Donnie Sadler, and he says, you know, there's no doubt in my mind he could be an everyday shortstop if the opportunity presented himself. Great range, great speed. Gets on base a little bit more. He's going to find his name in the lineup a little bit more.
He runs really well. 9 ground ball outs. And now it's Shannon Stewart. Grounded to the pitcher, flew out to left. Stewart with a little bit of a Batista in the batter's box. I was just thinking the same thing. I know where you're going here.
This infield is incredible. It's so much fun to play behind a guy that works quick and throws strikes. Watch the intensity on these guys right before Fassero lets the baseball go. All right, they're getting ready. They're stretching a little bit. Fassero's on the mound. Now look at him get down. I'm ready. It might be coming at me.
Little looper that'll not find the chalk and be a foul.
Really, a good lesson. We saw Brian Daubach show all the young first basemen how to play when there's a pickoff throw coming to you. Infielders showing you now how to get ready, get on your toes, anticipate that baseball coming at you. But Jeff Fassero teaching all the young pitchers that you don't have to throw 98 miles an hour. You can throw 88 miles an hour, work quick, have a little bit of movement on your fastball, and throw the best pitch in baseball, which is a strike.
That'll be fouled on the left field side. You know, Fassero, at 37 years of age, it took him 8 years in professional baseball to get to the majors. So you say, well, geez, he's 37. I don't really remember him till like 93. But if he can pitch like this and understanding what he no longer is, but what he can do now. Ground ball outs, authoritative, yet not blazing. And he could pitch 40, 41. I mean, you never know.
You know, I think, too, one thing that helped him a little bit, coming over here with Pedro Martinez takes a little pressure off of him. He was the opening day starter for Seattle last year, and they lost. And, you know, you're also going up against everybody else's #1 starter. Well, you got Pedro to do that here. So you're going to face everybody else's second and third starter. You're going to get more runs to work with. You're going to have more wins.
Another ground ball out. 1 to third, 1 to short, 1 to second. Fry to Daubach. Stewart's gone to the bottom of the 6th. Facero throwing the BBs. Facero twirling a 3-hitter. And the Red Sox lead at 3-0 to try to snap their brief 3-game losing streak. Last time they won was Friday against Detroit when the starting pitcher was Jeff Facero. Varitek, Sadler, and the top of the order Offerman. Fielder's choice by Everett in the first inning after 3 walks by Calvin Escobar, first run. And with 2 outs after an inning in which a couple of more walks by Escobar. Jeff Fry had an RBI single. Jason Varitek with an RBI single. And that's where we stand right now. 3-0 Boston. Chris Berman and Rick Sutcliffe with you here at Fenway Park.
Escobar pitching with a lot of confidence right now. He knows that he's got to hold Boston right there if the Toronto Blue Jays are going to have a chance to come back and win this game.
Varitek to center field. It'll drop in front of Jose Cruz. And Jason Varitek, oh, by the way, 3 for 3 tonight.
Number 15, the shortstop.
You can go to MajorLeagueBaseball.com for the most complete baseball coverage on the internet. Just thought you should know that. This copyrighted telecast is presented by authority of the Office of the Commissioner of Baseball. It may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form. The contents of the script of this game may not be disseminated without express written consent. Bunted by Sadler. Escobar throws that 90-mile-an-hour catch over to Grayback. He'll be a little raspberry there in the palm tomorrow, don't you think?
It's that good sinking fastball that pitching coach Rick Langford's been working with Escobar within a pin, but he's not one that throw it in this direction. Sadler just outstanding fundamentals, which you have got to do to play for Jimmy Williams. Look at right there. He does it. Now look at him get down that line. You better hurry. Just in time to get him. Boston's such a good situational hitting, bunting, swinging type team. They know the counts to swing in. They know when to bunt, and they're able to bunt and bunt successfully.
Ball 1 to Jose Offerman.
So selective at home plate tonight. Everybody trying to let Kelvin Escobar beat himself. Nobody really getting himself out on swinging at bad first pitches. Think about the New York Yankees last year and why their offensive numbers were so high. They would just wear down the starter, get him out of the ball game, and then just beat up on those middle relief guys. They bring in a reliever in that 5th, 6th, 7th inning. Those guys just got smoked.
That was some smoke.
81 miles an hour. How about the movement on this split finger fastball? Wow. You look at the potential that Escobar has. I mean, you know,
he does.
And then that right there, you know, that's the thing that frustrates you as a manager and a pitching coach. The count's 1 and 2. You don't have to throw a better splitter, which he tried to do there. His body got out in front, his arm couldn't catch up, and the ball was up. When you get ahead in the count, all that means is you got to look for a better location. Don't throw a better fastball. Don't throw a better splitter, curveball. Throw it in a little better spot. That's all.
Yeah, as we look at Varitek at second base, only 5 hits in the game for Boston, all of them from the 7, 8, 9 hole. All the hits. There have been a lot of runners with walks. It's odd. Hoffman was 0 for 3 in the leadoff spot. And now the count is full. So there's a 1-2 count, now 3-2.
Hoffman's he's the only guy in the lineup tonight that's not been on base. Escobar's walked the 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 guy. Hits from those down below.
He physically was on base as a fielder's choice, but as we speak, not by the book. Little blooper will get the 4th run home, however. Oh, those bases on balls. 7 tonight for Escobar.
Just hasn't been able to locate his fastball all night. Wants to throw it for a strike. Castilla trying to help him, giving him even a lower target than what the strike zone is, but Escobar just no command of that fastball. Time for some activity down in the Blue Jay bullpen and a slow walk to the mound from their pitching coach, Rick Langford.
You saw career-high 7 walks. So Escobar was a reliever until he converted to a starter last year. 10 started and relieved in 98. This is Lance Red House Painter. Lefty. Now let's go quickly to Larry Beal.
All right, Chris, give you an update on Cleveland and Detroit here. Top of the 4th. Manny Ramirez hitting .360 with runners in scoring position. Base hit right there off of Jeff Weaver. The Indians come back from a 5-1 deficit in this game as Omar scores. Cleveland now with a 6-5 lead in the 4th.
In the 4th, 6-5. Darwin Cobian is the other pitcher out there. We'll get a chance to test Darwin's theory if he comes in to pitch. Seeing as Danny Darwin's not pitching anymore, I kind of missed that one. Danny Theory Darwin. John Valentin with 2 men aboard. 1 out. Strike from Escobar. Valentin walked and scored in the 1st. Popped up to short. Walked. Stranded in the 4th. So he's 0 for 1 tonight, but he's at the plate for the 4th time. Down to 3rd, Batista, Graybeck, Delgado, around the horn double play. And so as many walks as he's given up, Escobar and the Jays are still in it. Ted Williams actually hit that seat. Now look at how far up in right center field that is. There was nobody was complaining about juice balls, by the way, at that time. High seams, Costa Rica, funny core.
You know, I also heard that when Pedro Martinez was serving his suspension, he went out there and sat in that seat just to see what it felt like.
A lot of great history, obviously, here. Park been here since 1912. The week the Titanic sunk, this park opened. And the Red Sox unveiled their plan as the Blue Jays get in. It's the heart of the order. Graybeck, Mondesi, Delgado, and then Batista. Red Sox over $600 million total. Build a new Fenway Park right here, like right the next block or 2, right adjacent to behind, kind of home and first. It's hard for me to explain. They're going to put up a big part of that money themselves, like the government, the state, the city, to help out. Infrastructure. For a $600 million ticket to make a new Fenway, because you really got to buy out all the land here. There's businesses here. There's buildings. This isn't like out west where, okay, here's some land. Let's build it here. It doesn't work that way. Fenway Park. Been here since 1912. And, you know, you wonder about the history, but I hate to say it because you know how I feel about this place, but it's time. I think most everyone agrees. You can build parks with, as all these from Camden Yards on, you can build parks with legitimate old-time charm. And they're going to have a lot of the features of the monster and a lot of the features that you see here at Fenway right now. Graybeck, a gapper unless Nixon can get over there quickly, and he does. Throwing the ball in and certainly down by 3 runs. Graybeck taking no chance, but here might be a chance for the Blue Jays to get in this game with Mondesi and Delgado coming up. Graybeck with a leadoff base hit.
They're into the heart of the order right now. Mondesi, Delgado due to come up. That's going to create activity down in the Boston bullpen. And I don't think so much because of the fact that Graybeck got a hit, but how he got that hit. Facero falling behind, going 3-0 to start the at-bat.
Mondesi is 1 for 2. Struck out in the first, single to center in the fourth. 4 Toronto hits. 3-0 behind Jeff Facero. Base hit up the middle for Mondesi, and that will put the tying run at the plate in the very dangerous person of Carlos Delgado. Rich Garces up throwing in the Boston pen. And now Carlos Delgado, the team that has the most home runs in the American League, 78. Admittedly, Joe Kerrigan and Jeff Facero know it will be very difficult to get the ball out tonight, but Delgado has speed to elevate any pitch by Facero, and he's gotten up the last couple of batters. Delgado can elevate it to any miss. Let's not make any mistake about it, Rick.
Joe Kerrigan hustling out there. Obviously, there's one quick thing on his mind. He wanted to make a little mechanical adjustment with Facero. Something has gone awry. Kerrigan's job is to get it fixed before Delgado can do some permanent damage.
Number 25, first baseman.
He's gotten Delgado to ground out to the very imposing figure of Rich Garces, who pitched well last night. Pitched well last year. He's a large man. Here's a guy that hits large home runs. He's peppered the restaurants in Toronto, Skydome. Goes the opposite way down the line. Graybeck will score. Mondesi held at third. Delgado fools everyone with an opposite field double. So single, double. It's 3-1, and the tying run is at second base.
The reason Delgado hitting over 300 this year is because of at-bats like this. Going to the opposite field with pitches that are on the outer half of the plate. You get something in, turn on it, hit it as far as anybody on earth. But when the ball's away, you try to pull it. All you're going to do is get yourself in trouble. Instead, he's gotten Toronto back in this game.
Jimmy Williams is out, and the fans on their feet for Jeff Facero, who certainly pitched beautifully until here in the seventh. We'll be back with the Jays rattling the bats. Tony Batista up. And whoa, there's a different sort of pitch than you've seen from Facero tonight. Ball 1, and Jeff Facero is gone, facing 3 batters here in the 7th, allowing the 1 run. And responsible for Mondesi at third, Delgado at second. Told you that until Friday, he hadn't gone 7 innings. We pitched beautifully tonight. Certainly cannot lose it, but if a base hit by Batista or by Cordova or Cruz behind him, then there'll be no line for Facero. Rich Garces pitched 1 inning last night, struck out 2 of the 3 batters that he faced. Rich Garza's one of these names you don't know, but 1-0 ERA of 2.05 this year. Last year 5-1, 1.55. Batista, you do know this year. He was 12 homer last night, and that proved to be the third and what proved to be the necessary run for Toronto in their 3-2 win. And a lot of things going here in the 3-1. How about the job by Delgado going inside out like that?
That's a completely different hitter than what we've seen in the past. This is a guy that's trying to take his game to that MVP type level. And with at bats like that, he very well could do it.
Batista, fly ball to right. Nixon way back at the track. An easy tag for Mondesi. Delgado to third, and it's a 3-2 game. That's the best ball we've seen hit in that direction tonight.
You know what makes it the best ball for me is the fact that there's men on second and third. That's a tying run on second base. You've got nobody out. So even if you make an out, you got to do something to the right side of the field so that you advance him to third base with that out. Different conditions. You hit that ball that Batista hit right there during batting practice, it's gone, and Toronto is in the lead. The weather right now is the only reason that Boston still has the lead, and Jimmy Williams trying to keep that lead, it looks like, by bringing the infield in.
Joe Kerrigan out to talk as Brad Fulmer will pinch hit for the DH. Marty Cordova. Fulmer left-handed stick. So this inning, a totally different Jays lineup, at least for production. Graybeck, single. Mondesi, base hit. Then Delgado, beautiful double into the corner. And then Batista really swatted this one for a sac fly to right.
79 pitches on the night for Jeff Fassero. Pitch count really didn't catch up with him. I think it's just the fact that all of a sudden Toronto making an adjustment. All of those base hits either up the middle or to the opposite field. They quit trying to pull the baseball. Even though the pitches were on the outer half, they went with them, and that's where the damage was done.
This is Brad Fulmer, who really a three-way trade for first baseman in spring training, and all three teams have come up winners. Fulmer here as a DH. David Segui from here to Texas. Lee Stevens from Texas to Montreal. Montreal sending Fulmer to Toronto. And all three have delivered.
Johnny Oates knew what he was getting in Texas with David Segui, a veteran.
To left field to Troy O'Leary. Delgado bluffs. O'Leary's throw cut off. Just not deep enough. And Delgado, I'll tell you what would have had. Delgado and Veritek, that might have been quite a collision at the plate, Rick.
Would have been quite a collision. It was also quite a pitch right here. Joe Kerrigan came to the mound just to tell Garces, hey, if you walk him, don't worry about it. Don't give him anything to hit. Look at the location on that fastball. Up and in, everything on it. Fulmer not able to get enough of it, and Garces able to get the out. Jimmy Williams had a couple of things he could have done there. He could have intentionally walked Fulmer and let Garces pitch to the switch hitter Cruz. He also could have brought in the left-hander Riyad Cormier, who's ready to go in the pen to pitch to the left-hander Fulmer. But Kerrigan came to the mound, told him how he could get Fulmer out, and he did it.
Now he's got to get Cruz in his swing for that pitch. Garces took a little off it. Strike one.
Garces with a good hard fastball, 88-92. He's got a split-fingered fastball that'll run away, as that one did there. He'll normally use that to left-handed hitters, a slider to right-handers.
In the dirt, blocked by Veritek.
Well, Jason Veritek having a good night offensively, 3 for 3, having a good year, but what he does defensively is amazing to me. Here he keeps the tie and run from scoring. But think about this guy, what he does on a weekly basis. He's got to catch Derek Lowe, their closer's sinker. He's got to catch Tim Wakefield's knuckleball. He's got to catch Pedro.
And he was in the dirt a lot last night, was Pedro Veritek, had a busy night. Big pitch there by Garces. Listed at 6:02:15. I don't think so. Okay? But whatever the weight, whatever the height, just a piece of it by Cruz.
Here comes Fenway at his finest. When they talk about that 10th man on the field, there's not many places better than right here.
Here they are. Counters 1-2 to Cruz. Top 2-2.
Don't think for 1 second that umpires aren't affected, particularly young umpires, by crowds like this. You can get a little bit more on the inside and outside corner when you've got 40,000 people on your side.
Hit to right field. Delgado scores, and we have a tie game. How about that job of hitting by Jose Cruz? Patient, 2 strikes. Looked like Garces had the momentum. And so the Blue Jays, nothing going all night, have scored 3 here in the 7th to knot the game.
Well, really a heartbreaker for Jeff Fassero here. He won't get the win tonight. Look at that right there. I mean, you can go either way you want. And instead, Garces goes down the heart of the plate. Cruz able to make contact. And we're right back where we started with a tie game.
Alex Gonzalez. 0 for 2, 2 ground ball outs against Fassero. They talk about Cruz coming of age a little bit, you know, that great expectations, #1 draft pick of the Mariners years ago, and came up and did some great things with Seattle right away when they called him up. Then it's kind of been dormant for 2 or 3 years. Been a different sort of player. And Delgado, you showed the difference of he's been a good power hitter, but now he became an excellent hitter on that. So you get some pitching to go along with emerging other stars here. Don't sell Toronto that much behind, if at all, the Yankees and Red Sox. Agree?
Absolutely. Talent-wise, there may even be more ability in that Blue Jay dugout than either one of those other 2 teams. Just not the experience.
Pitch out. Cruz going nowhere. Rally catch, huh? That's what happened. All of a sudden, you see all those men left on base by the Red Sox. It was 3-0. Fassero had everything going. You know, nobody kept track of it. Swung on and missed by Gonzalez. But the Red Sox have left 8 men on. That's left 8 on, in addition to the 3 that scored. Well, it's come back to bite them.
Those throws to first base are signs from the dugout. Jimmy Williams flashing a sign to Jason Varitek saying throw over. I want to see if Cruz will give away any inclination he might be trying to run.
Inside corner. Gonzalez didn't like it, but he's rung up. But not until the Blue Jays knock out Fassero and give us a new game at the 7th inning stretch.
Updating the Yankees and the White Sox. Jose Valentin jumps on the hanging curve. Bernie Williams, 2-time Gold Glover. I think that ball actually ricocheted off of his forehead. Look at Ray Dorham. He's got wheels flying around third. The White Sox took a 2-0 lead. Yanks have gotten one back, and it's a 2-1 game in the 4th.
The Yankees trailing and the Red Sox blowing a lead here, Larry. And 7th inning stretch time, and Kelvin Escobar is gone, and well, we are ahead of the scoreboard. You know, but you got one guy back there putting up all those numbers. I mean, it takes a while to go around the horn. But that scoreboard is just great. It's later on we might show you. You ever been behind there? Well, we'll talk about that later.
I have not.
I have. The second Blue Jay, whose father was a pretty darn good major league player. So Jose Cruz Jr. tied the game with his base hit. This is Pedro Borbon Jr., one-time Atlanta Brave. Pitched 2/3 of an inning last night. Retired both batters he faced. And he'll face the heart of the Red Sox order. Trot Nixon, Brian Daubach, and Carl Everett. A lot of breaking stuff from Bourbon, Rick.
Couple of different arm angles he will use with a left-handed hitter in there, as Trot Nixon is. Fastball, slider, good stuff. Normally overpowering.
Rayback to Delgado, and Nixon is gone. Well, we told you that the Red Sox have left on 8 tonight. Well, this is runners in scoring position, whichever way you look at it, left on base, runners in scoring position, it's going to be negative numbers if you're doing poorly. 5 for 41 is not the way that Boston built the best record in the American League. Now, it's only a 4 or 5 game run. I mean, it's 163 games, but this is what's been missing, as Boston has not won since last Friday.
Well, managers, they can't play the game. All they can do is put players in positions to succeed. And I think both managers have done that tonight. When Jimmy Williams brought in Garces, he brought in a guy that threw strikes and that could strike people out. More strikeouts than innings pitched. He needed a strikeout. He came in here and he was able to keep the game and the lead with Boston until the base hit by Cruz. Now on the other side, Jim Fregosi bringing in his left-handed reliever in a situation where he can face left-handed hitters. Obviously a better opportunity for him to succeed. I can remember Walter Alston telling me that a one-run ball game normally is decided by a manager's decision one way or the other. They put on the hit and run, they didn't, they did this, they brought in the wrong reliever. Whatever they did, they have something to do with it. Well, you see Bourbon right there freezing Daubach on the outside corner. That's Bourbon's specialty, facing left-handed hitters, and he's retired both of them that he's faced thus far. Look at the arm angle, everything coming out in front, and then finally the baseball, too late for Daubach to pick it up. But in a 2 or 3 run ball game, usually it's one starting pitcher outdoing the other. 4 runs or more, obviously some people offensively went off. But we've got ourselves a tie ball game, and a decision one way or another by each of these managers might be the difference in the game tonight.
Carl Everett steps up against Pedro Bourbon Jr. 25 years ago, Pedro Bourbon Sr., a member of the Cincinnati Reds that played here in Fenway in one of the most memorable World Series ever. Here we are. It was 1975, the year 2000. Pedro Bourbon Jr. Oh. And he hits Everett, and they stare. But in a tie game, nobody is trying to throw at anyone. Yeah, it's a good job by Castillo right there.
I just have a hard time understanding why everybody's got to stare at each other. There's no reason for that. He was not trying to hit him. Ball got away from him. You're not going to put the go-ahead run on base. You know, just last week when we were in Toronto, Pedro Martinez hit Brad Fulmer. I mean, he hit him good too. Brad Fulmer did nothing but flip the bat and go on down to first base. But you know what he did in the next at bat? Pedro threw something on the outer half, and Fulmer hit a line shot right back up the middle that hit Pedro. That's how you answer that. I don't think, I mean, you don't have to stare. That ball's well behind him. I mean, it's going to frustrate you as a hitter. But you know what? It's only going to hurt for a little while. Next time you come up and he's on the mound, try to hit one back at him or take him deep. What's the staring all about?
I mean, it's a tie game. Nobody's trying to put the go-ahead run on. I understand why Everett's not thrilled to get hit in the back. Bourbon has hit 5 guys now in 16 2/3 of an inning, so maybe it's more reputation. And now we have a delay of game, and we're not going to show this because some fool is just sliding at second base. But I mean, now we've got everything going on. Another night at Fenway. So here's the pitch before Everett got hit.
Well, Everett has got to understand that where he's at
on bringing this up here. Huh?
Well, You got to respect Bourbon right there. I know one thing.
All right, I'll bring it up. Here's your back.
Somebody would have done that to his dad. That's exactly what his dad would have done too. And really nobody hurt. I mean, Everett's on first, but Bourbon has the situation he likes. Another left-handed hitter in the box.
Here's a whirly bird to Troy O'Leary in there for a strike.
I mean, Frank Robinson has made his point. If you're going to charge the mound, if you're going to fight, you're going to pay for it. Not only with the suspension, but those suspensions, Boomer, come without pay. Those are going to hurt. If you got a problem with what somebody does, you don't have to do it on the field. I mean, wait till the game's over. There were a couple of times in my career I walked into the opposing clubhouse. You got a problem with settle it there. It doesn't cost you near as much money.
Here goes Everett. Castillo fires, but the stolen base by Everett gives the Red Sox the go-ahead run in scoring position. And you just knew he had smoke coming out of his ears.
That right there is playing the game to win. There's stolen bases, and then there's stolen bases like this one, where with 2 outs you get into scoring position, and on a bloop, a bleeder, any type of base hit, you can give your team the lead.
Outside to O'Leary, 1-2.
I like this, man. I mean, this is kind of pennant fever intensity here in May.
3 stolen bases for Everett. Everett can move. But that's not what they're asking him to do here in Boston.
Had it not come after being hit by a pitch, Everett probably wouldn't be trying to run.
Right.
It's starting to rain a little bit here. And Boomer, we both saw him before the game. He had a bunch of ice wrapped around that left quadricep muscle that he's had problems with the last couple of weeks.
27 stolen bases last year as an Astro. But you're right. Different situation. Keep going. O'Leary waves at that one, and in the raindrops. We're headed to the 8th. Raindrops falling on our head. A 3-3 tie. Top of the 8th inning, and the rain now here in Boston of a 3-3 game. And the man that normally closes for the Red Sox has come in a tie game in the 8th. That's not news. Derek Lowe has put the Raleigh Fingers type 2-inning save back into the scorebooks. This, of course, not nearly a save situation. But Lowe coming in, he hasn't pitched much lately. And he'll pitch to the pinch hitter, Darren Fletcher. He'll set both guys up. Throw is high. Fletcher sliding, but a nice tag by Daubach. Ball sailed on Sadler. Remember, it's wet. But Fletcher, who will now catch for Castillo, is gone. Derek Lowe has been one of the big performers for the Red Sox. Seeing him in the 8th is not news. A tie game might be a little bit of news.
I think, Boomer, along with that David Wells is part of the reason we're seeing Derek Lowe right now on the top of the 8th. Jimmy Williams knows that David Wells is a tough competitor. He's pitching tomorrow. They want to win a game in this series. They better go for it right now.
That's a good point. Boomer goes tomorrow. He's signed with Pedro with most wins in the American League with 7. It's always good to have 2 Boomers at Fenway at once, by the way. If George Scott were here, we'd be all set.
Speaking of Pedro, I don't believe that pitchers, for the most part, deserve MVP votes. They've got the Cy Young Award. That's their trophy. But when you're a guy like Pedro Martinez,
ripped down the line, fair ball. Shannon Stewart will move into second. And the Blue Jays, nothing at all for 6 innings, now have the go-ahead run on at second with 1 out here in the 8th.
Gary Matthews, one of the broadcasters of the Toronto Blue Jays, says that right now Shannon Stewart's the best leadoff hitter in baseball. Well, his numbers might indicate that. Last year he hit over 300, scored 102 runs. Coming into tonight's game, he's hitting 344. The game on the line, you got your closer on the mound, and he's able to come through with a double there with 1 out. Gary Matthews might be right.
Number 4,
But back to the point about Pedro. With Pedro pitching last night, the Red Sox off on Monday, Jimmy Williams, managing his club, could throw everybody out there, shoot all of his bullets on Sunday. He knows they're going to have 2 days off. Right. With Pedro pitching, you don't need anybody, maybe a guy for an inning or two. And then what happens? After Pedro pitched last night, Jimmy Williams has everybody ready to go again tonight.
Craig Grayback struck out twice, but then singled to start the big 3-run rally last inning. Came around to score. Up the middle, low, now has Stewart in a pickle, but the throw's in the dirt. Sadler's got good speed. The throw over to Valentin, and Stewart is out. So you field your position, you help yourself unbelievably. Grayback aboard on the fielder's choice, but the runner in scoring position, gonzo.
Derek Lowe doing a good job, making a good pitch, making the right decision, but Donnie Sadler just making an outstanding play on both ends. Watch Sadler break right there. Here comes Lowe. Here comes the throw. It's in the dirt. Sadler comes up with it, but watch how hard he runs the runner back to third base. Now Valentin comes. He catches the ball, and Grayback is not able to get into scoring position. Look at him come up. Now look how hard he runs right there. Now the throw. Now the tag. And guess what? Grayback's still at first base. Shannon Stewart could run right there. He wanted to get hung up in there and let Grayback get to where he started. Sadler would not let that happen.
Raul Mondesi struck out and singled twice. Singled and scored the second Toronto run in the 7th inning. Waves of that pitch by Lowe. Do you think that in the modern day there's been a better trade? Here's the imposing figure of Carlos Delgado on deck. Do you think there has been a better trade in the modern era? Well, not modern era. I don't mean to go forever, but in recent years. How about Dan Duquette trading for Derek Lowe and Jason Varitek, the pitcher and the catcher you're seeing now, for Heathcliff Slope. Some work, some don't. That worked.
There's a lot of scouts around baseball that say, with the exception of Pudge Rodriguez, Jason Varitek is the best catcher in the American League.
Another reason for the delay, another fool is run out of the field. Fans, don't do this. Just don't do it.
You know, it's something that they only do once.
Yeah.
Because when the officers get them down below, it's not nice.
Shouldn't be.
And then there's some jail time involved. You're gonna head down to the station, and there's going to be a fine. There's going to be lawyers involved, and you're just going to realize how stupid it was.
That those last few innings of the game might have been better off attending.
Here's that beautiful Boston weather.
Oh,
that they have
what
had.
has gone on here in New England? I mean, we're just waiting for spring here. Mondesi waits for that pitch from Lowe, and again, it's down and away, and that's what you showed earlier in the broadcast.
There's the chase zone. And also to go along with those chase zones for each hitter, Joe Kerrigan has what he calls chase counts. And he'll have a sign that he'll flash to the catcher saying, hey, he swings with the count like this, as that was a lot of the time.
And nasty pitching by Lowe against Mondesi, and Boston will come up in the bottom of the 8th. The game tied at 3. Sutcliffe at a wet Fenway Park. Toronto and Boston tied at 3. Our True Value game summary. Facero was great through 6, but Toronto came up with a 3 spot in the 7th to tie it. Escobar walked a lot, but ended up making sure the Red Sox stranded, 9 runners. The bad news of that graphic for Jimmy Williams, the 1 through 6 hitters tonight for Boston, 0 for 16. The good news in a tie game, the bottom 3, Fry, Varitek, and Sadler, the guys at the plate now, 5 for 8. And the new pitcher for Toronto also worked last night, as did Borbone. One-time Boston Red Sox hurler Paul Quattro, who retired both batters. He pitched 2 last night, as did Pedro Borbone. This is Jeff Fry, who is 1 for 3 in that group. Varitek on deck, 3 for 3. Sadler after that, 1 for 2 in a sacrifice.
Well, this is the format that Jim Fregosi uses with his bullpen. When he's trying to get to their closer, Billy Koch, it's going to be in the 7th and 8th inning, Pedro Borbon or Paul Quantrill. And he'll just depend on the lineup as to when he brings those two guys in.
And he also has John Frascatore, who he used last night as well. Shot to Graybeck at second, 1 out in the Boston 8th.
I was talking to pitching coach Rick Langford before the game about Billy Koch. He's thrown the last 3 ball games for Toronto. I said, well, obviously you won't use him tonight. He said, you know what, we might. He says he's always available every day. And before each ball game during batting practice, Langford plays long toss with Billy Koch. And if he's got the arm strength, if the range of motion is there, then he knows to tell Jim Fregosi he's good to go. Langford told me before the game he's good tonight if they need an inning out of him.
They might. Jason Varitek 3 for 3 tonight. This is his first at bat in the rain, however. 3 for 3, dry and cold. See how he does in the rain. One thing to keep in mind, especially if Varitek pulls the ball down right field, is now the considerable warning track, if you will, down the right field line. There's some standing water. So just keep in mind if that ball goes down in the corner, how this now might affect the play. And you know what? I think the umpires are just thinking the same thing.
He could see that Quantrill was having trouble with his footing out there
on the mound, period. But just right, and they can call that for that at any time, right? While we fertilize the mound, Junior and the Reds against the Dodgers tonight at Chavez Ravine. Junior homered last night, and Reds 3-1 win. And Dave Barnett and Joe Morgan will follow. That's on ESPN later tonight at 10 Eastern, 7 Pacific. Of course, baseball tonight follows us on ESPN2.
Yeah, you can see now where an infielder and outfielder get a little bit frustrated with the pitcher. I mean, they're looking down at that ground they got to stand on.
Yeah.
There's mud everywhere. How about bringing some of that quick dry stuff over to me? I always felt sorry for the right fielder during rain delays. You know, they put that tarp over the infield.
Yeah.
And then what do they do when they take it off? They dump it in right field.
Right. Varitek to left. Shannon Stewart looking up into the raindrops. And, you know, let's not understate, that's a little concentration, looking up into the lights, into the rain, making the play. 2 outs. We'll bring up Donnie Sargent Sadler. Now, I don't expect anyone, very few, to understand that nickname, but yet I must explain, because he'll probably go back to Pawtucket when Nomar's ready. Staff Sergeant Barry Sadler sang a song in the 60s, the Green Berets. Remember that?
Oh, the ballad.
That was a hit, the Ballad of the Green Beret. Sure. I believe me, I don't expect this to be a Burt B. Home Bly Levin nickname, okay? But yet I must. Staff Sergeant Donnie Sadler. I don't know. It's wet. What do you want? Now you can hear the rain on our microphones on the field.
Toronto just trying to put a couple of zeros up to get the closer, Derek Lowe, out of the ball game for Boston.
Off the glove, and that'll enable Graybeck to make the play. That might have been a base hit. Quantrill helped guide it to Graybeck. And at the bottom of the order is retired really for the first time. Carlos Delgado to lead off. Here's our game summary for those just tuning in or for those who might have had their own personal rain delay. Jeff Acero was masterful. Ground ball out after ground ball out. A 3-0 Red Sox lead through 6. But Toronto picked up a 3 spot in the 7th inning, knocking Acero out. And that's where we stand. Blue Jays came through after struggling. And Boston stranded many men on base. They could have had a 5 or 6 run lead, and now it may cost them. And on a night that has now turned colder and wetter and danker, a young man from Moncton, New Brunswick, Real Cormier, the lefty, comes in to face the most dangerous hitter in the lineup, Rick Sutcliffe, Carlos Delgado, who's doubled drove in the first of the 3 runs in the 7th inning.
And Cormier has been struggling in the month of May. 15 appearances, just 18 in the 3rd innings. He's allowed 4 home runs.
The Blue Jays, and he's in there with a strike in the inside corner to Delgado. He's ahead 0-2. Toronto leads the American League in homers with 78. No one's gone deep on a night that will be very difficult to go deep on. Wind now seemingly blowing dead in from center towards home plate. And the crowd, what was pretty good before, now it's friends and relatives.
Take a look at
you at home.
At the defense there. Normally they put a shift on with a right-handed pitcher on the mound. The hard-throwing Cormier, though, pretty much straight up on the infield.
Ground ball is short. This is Donnie Sadler across to Brian Daubach, and the dangerous Delgado is gone. 1 out in the Toronto 9th. That brings up Tony Batista, he of the extraordinarily unorthodox stance, which we talked about earlier this evening, evoking the names of Dick McAuliffe and Brian Downing. Who had the strangest stance you ever pitched to, Rick?
You know, the one that always got me was Mickey Tettleton. Remember how he just kind of laid the bat back like he was going to step out of the box? I never thought he was ready. I thought I could always sneak something by him, and never did.
Swings easy, but this one will just go out to the outfield grass where Jeff Fry. Not sure if it's French fry, stir fry. He wasn't sure which he preferred, but he made the out, and Cormier prefers that he just play second base. 2 down. And that will bring up Brad Fulmer, who went in as a pinch hitter for the DH Marty Cordova in the 7th, when the lefty Pissarro was gone in place of the favor of the righty Garces. The Red Sox have now used Pissarro, Garces, Lowe, and Cormier. Toronto has used Escobar, Bourbon, and Quattro.
It really took a lot of pressure off Brad Fulmer when he came from Montreal to Toronto, because now he doesn't have to worry about playing defense. They told him, you just think about hitting. And that he has done since he put on the Blue Jay uniform.
Delgado in first base, that's what he wants to do. And worked hard to become a much better fielding first baseman, as we talked about. So Fulmer might get an occasional start at first, but not many.
I don't know how they could put him at first, because every time I've seen him the last couple of weeks, he's had a bat in his hand. I mean, he can't take that bat out to first base with you.
At least you're not supposed to.
This kid's just born to hit. He loves to hit, and having the designated hitter rule took a lot of pressure off him. Last year he struggled so much they actually sent him back to the minor leagues to work on his stroke.
So Fulmer traded earlier in spring training from Montreal to Toronto, facing a pitcher from New Brunswick. These 3 guys understand the exchange rate. These 2 guys. So does he. Jim Belafergosi, Jimmy Williams. Middle game of this 3-game set. Game 1 won by Toronto. 3-2 last night over Pedro Martinez. Fouled off the, to use a hockey term, paraphernalia.
That's one thing about Jim Fregosi there, letting his designated hitter swing with the count 3-0. He's always been an aggressive manager. He'll put the green light on. He'll let his veteran players do the things that they can do on a baseball field. Fulmer green lighted right there. Took a good swing, had the head of the bat out in front of home plate, which you expect for a guy on a 3-0 or 3-1 count. But Cormier, a little bit of movement to keep that ball from being put in play.
Now the count is 3-2. Looking at the Boston 9th, it's the top of the order. Offerman, Valentin, and Nixon. The winds gusting in. just missed ball 4, but the go-ahead run is now aboard. And Jose Cruz, who's clutched 2 strike, 2 out base hit in the 7th, tied the game in the 7th, has now come up. I see a Giants cap on that fan. There you go. Candlestick-esque tonight, I got to tell you.
Is there enough wind?
Not yet, but not yet, but everything else kind of
that chill is
reminds
there,
me that quad to Fenway maybe we'll give out tonight.
You know, we've talked about Pedro. We've talked about David Wells pitching tomorrow, Delgado, Mondesi, Nomar being out, Carl Everett. But the key to this series so far is that guy right there, Jose Cruz Jr. It was a defensive play last night. It was an offensive play tonight.
1-on-1, Cruz.
Last night, John Valentin at home plate. Bases loaded. He knows that he got enough of it to do some damage. Had Cruz not been able to climb the wall, run into the green monster, come down with it, and make the strong throw to third base.
Jimmy Williams went out to argue it last night. Replay showed that was definitely the correct call. Just misses outside, 2-1. There are not that many left here at Fenway, but they are vocal. Pretty good sounds coming out of a crowd that's, what do you think? 5,000 left? About 5. Up the middle, Sadler can't get to it. Boy, he took a good run at it. The ball, it was almost in slow motion. The ball, there's everything going on the grass, and the dirt will really be slow. But with 2 outs, a walk, the first the Blue Jays received tonight, and now a hit by Cruz, his 3rd of the night of 2 on. Right before this pitch, Sadler moved into the hole to his right just a couple of steps because Jose Cruz was ahead in the count. He figured he would pull the baseball. Well, those 2 steps he took to his right might have kept him from getting to that ball and being able to force out Brad Fulmer at second base. But guess what? Jose Cruz, once again, trying to be the difference here tonight. Cruz is 3 for 4, and here is 0 for 3, Alex Gonzalez, the shortstop. Smooth fielding Alex Gonzalez. Never quite has done it with the bat. Well, average-wise, at 292 last year, limited action. Torn right shoulder. 241 lifetime hitter. Oh, way inside. He almost could have bought a hit by pitch by not moving. Would have hurt. It'd be a tough night to do that. Yeah. And that was also a pretty tough area to do it. That's your kneecap you're talking about there. You got to get the kneecaps out of the way. You might sacrifice a thigh or you know, maybe your backside, your rear end, but I'm not going to give up the kneecap in this weather. You? Not really. My kneecap's already been given up anyway. This one will, well, Daubach thinks he's got to play, and he makes it against the tarp. The well-used tarp tonight, I might add. So Gonzalez strands 2. Daubach makes the play, and we head to the ninth. It's sloshy, it's wet, but Boston can win it in this at-bat. I won the Jays by 4 in the East as we head toward the Memorial Day break. Really the first checkpoint of baseball. Yankees finally doing some hitting, leading the White Sox 8-3. And here's the top of the order for Boston. Jose Offerman, John Valentin, Trot Nixon. Offerman 0 for 3 in a walk. Valentin 0 for 2 in a walk. Nixon 0 for 3 in a walk. All 5 hits coming from the 7, 8, 9 spots in the Boston order tonight. 3 of the 5 coming off the bat of number 8 hitter Jason Varitek. Top of the order is ever going to get going. Now might be a good time. This is Paul Quantrill pitching. So after the rain delay, Jimmy Williams low out. But Jim Fregosi keeps Quantrill as a reliever. Balancing out there. As a reliever. Are you surprised that Lowe is? I guess he's your real closer, so you don't want to take a chance.
Well, I think the biggest thing was the rain delay. He went out there. He had a man on second. He had to make some tough pitches. He had to reach back. And, you know, you just can't take a chance on hurting an arm as good as that of Derek Lowe. He's too important to this club.
Yes, he went. Jeff Nelson, the home plate umpire, says goodbye, and Offerman is struck out for the second time tonight.
Offerman not happy with it. He'd been swinging the bat a little bit better until last night. A couple of situations he didn't execute. Catcher sitting there, and you got the glove there and you don't move it, you're going to get that call more times than not.
John Valentin walked and scored a run way back in the first. In there for a strike over the outside part of the plate. Just back off the DL. This is outside. Quantrill pitched for these Red Sox 92, 93, and 94. Before moving over to the Phillies. Trade in the middle of the season. Where Jim Fregosi was the manager.
Really difficult to play outfield in these conditions. There's a lot of water out there. You can see it splashing around when they run. They've got to play deep here to try to cut off anything in the gaps.
The point about Quantrill being that he and Valentin, when they were youngsters, teammates as young Red Sox a long time ago. Yeah, it'd be interesting to see if anything goes all the way out there, Rick. You're right. I mean, it's wet, but this will not. Alex Gonzalez for Carlos Delgado. Valentin's gone. 2 out in the Boston match.
The conditions here tonight could have something to do with the outcome of this ball game. It's the conditions here tonight that have created all the leg injuries for the Boston Red Sox. Omar Garcia-Parra, basically, as he said, been playing on ice skates the first 2 months of the season. It's just, you know, it rains, the water's out there, it freezes. Carl Everett with leg problems. Jose Offerman. Ramon Martinez with leg problems. It's just, you know, right about now they're wondering if they can't put a dome over this thing to keep people healthy.
Count is 1-1. Red Sox fans hoping that Nixon's the one. Put them in position to put it into this. Nixon drills it to left and playing so far back to Shannon Stewart. I don't know what he's guarding against, really. I mean, the ball's not rolling anywhere with the wall. Normal position, he might have gotten it, although with the left-handed batter, the ball was squirting away from it, Rick.
I think in a normal position, he could have gotten to this ball. I think with a good read on it right off the bat, he could have gotten there. Okay, it's hit. Now you got to come in. You got to come in. You can't go sideways. You got to come in. If he wanted to make the play, that was the angle that he needed to take. But, you know, you cannot let that ball get by you. You let the runner get in a scoring position, then you defeat the purpose of having you play deep, playing deep to begin with.
Cleanup hitter Brian Daubach 0 for 3 and a walk and 2 strikeouts tonight. Inside corner, strike one.
Well, Trot Nixon, only with 3 stolen bases all last year, already has 4 this year. With Fletcher behind home plate, not one of the better throwers in the league.
Threw out 2 guys last night, Everett twice.
See, I wasn't here last night.
I know, that's why
I appreciate you covering me there.
No. He last night he threw really well. He gunned Everett out once. I don't know what it was. It was like a delayed steal by 4 steps. And it will be tough to get footing, is it not, to get a good jump? Oh, that's ripped to right field. Back is Mondesi, but it is going to take a titanic blast to get out of here tonight. Most nights, that's gone. Tonight, it's extra innings. Daubach gave it a ride. Now we ride to the 10th. Making a strong grab to keep this game knotted to extra innings, Rick. And hey, defensively, no question here.
It's been his defense that's brought this game to extra innings. Here he makes a nice play, fully extended, not knowing where the wall is. And you know, that's what we were talking about earlier in the game when we set up the defense. We talked about how well the Red Sox outfielders patrol the outfield here at Fenway. It's as difficult as any in baseball to play. Obviously, playing more games here, they know what's happening out there. But Mondesi, you know, don't forget he came from the National League.
Yeah, this is his first view of Fenway at all. It was last night.
And there's some things that can deceive you down here. Ground balls down into that corner. Which angle do you take to cut them off? Where's that wall out there?
Darren Fletcher, second at bat of the game. First one, remember, was a high throw or a wide throw by Sadler. He slid in. Daubach made a nice play in tagging him out at first. That was a ground out in the 8th inning. Breaking ball, Fletcher fouls back. I will say this. I always give the fans who stay in a situation like this the nod. Especially there's some fans way out in the bleachers that, I mean, they could move up 50 rows to get a little better view. But, you know, they're here. It's cold. They've invested the evening. They want to see the outcome. They don't want to read about it in the paper. They don't want to hear it on the radio. Fisted to Fry. Fry to Daubach. Fletcher gone. One out of the Toronto 10th. I mean, I've been in that situation before. You just don't want to go home.
Boomer, I got to tell you something. I still have goosebumps from what happened right as the rain delay started to end. All of the crowd coming back down to as close to the field as they can. You sitting up here, you know, getting everything situated. And all of a sudden, they start yelling at you. You stand up and wave. I mean, it was almost like the Pope. They could have brought any two players up here, and the ovation would not have been. You know what? I'm just telling you. I mean, I know you're popular, but that was incredible. That had to make you feel good.
That was a rush. I didn't wave out. Just, well, none of the players are on the field yet. I was the best available athlete, as we say in the NFL draft. That was a rush. I got to admit, you've heard the ovations and some of your great performances.
That was outstanding.
Inside to Shannon Stewart. It's 1-1. The imposing monster. Seven feet high.
Well, that could be the difference here tonight. Somebody able to put some green paint on that baseball. Get something up there.
Yep.
Somebody misplay it. Get into scoring position. Wild pitch. It's just tough to come by tonight. Not only the wind blowing in and then the infield grass being slow, but you know what? Your hands hurt right now. You're just stiff. It's just not a fun time to swing the bat.
Oh, a nice play made by Cormier to Daubach. That's a pretty play because it's over his head. Base hit.
When you're talking about the speed of Shannon Stewart, if Cormier does not make this play, there's nobody that can help him. He realizes right there, I got to get back. Sadler coming as hard as he could. Cormier coming up with it. He sets himself. He knows once he gets the ball in his glove, he's got time to make the throw to first. But some nice athleticism on the part of Cormier.
Craig Brayback, 1 for 4. Scored a run. struck out twice. Single to start the 3-run 7th for Toronto. It's 3-0 Boston. Run in the first, 2 in the third. And 3 for Toronto in the 7th. Rain delay of 44 minutes after the 8th. Here we are in the 10th.
You got to be careful right here. He's going to have to throw a strike because of Mondesi on deck. Cormier stepping off right there. That's not a bad idea. Don't underestimate the size of Graybeck. This guy can take you deep. And he knows, this is a veteran player here. He knows what's going on. He knows that Cormier does not want to face Mondesi here. He wants to get Graybeck out. This should be a fastball for a strike.
Base hit past Sadler. So Graybeck. A couple of hits last night, a couple of hits tonight. And that'll bring up Raul Mondesi.
It's only because of the location of this fastball that it does not get up on the green monster. Look at the head of the bat. Look at the extension. He's thinking about going deep. Boom, those hips fly open. Had that pitch not been down, it could have been a Toronto lead right now. Instead, the ball was hit hard. Stays in the park. But Cormier's got to face Mondesi.
I never looked at Graybeck before. I've known him for a long time. He looks like a little Biggio out there in the helmet and the base pack, doesn't he? Facially. Well, Mondesi made a nice play defensively to end the 9th. Can he have a big hit as he did in the 7th? Graybeck started with the single, lead off the 7th. Mondesi followed with the single, and the 3-run rally was on. So here's Graybeck at first again. Same situation 3 innings later, admittedly with 2 outs. Play by Varitek.
We showed earlier the chase zones for Raul Mondesi. This right here is one of those chase counts. Mondesi's always been aggressive. He's a guy that will strike out. He doesn't have many base on balls this year. Only 13 times has he been walked. He's got 40 strikeouts already. So with the count 2-0, the count 3-1, he wants to swing the bat. So if you can throw something that looks like a strike, like a changeup, something that looks like it's knee-high, but then it falls down out of the zone, Mondesi at times will help you.
Sadler, the pitch to Fry. Graybeck is forced, and the Red Sox are coming up in the 10th with Carl Everett leading it off. It is 3-3 nada. Chris Berman, Rick Sutcliffe with you in a 3-3 rain-delayed bottom of the 10th tie. And Raul Mondesi, we've talked about him all night at the plate. Rick.
Yeah, he will help you out. He doesn't like the base on balls, and nobody knows that better than pitching coach Joe Kerrigan. There's a chase zone. We showed that to you earlier. With the count 2-0, this is a chase count. He'll expand the zone. Look at where the pitch is. Off the plate, but they know that. Boston knows that Mondesi likes to swing the bat in those counts, and they know where to put it. Make it start out in the zone, movement out of the zone, you get the out.
New pitcher for Toronto is John Chicken Frascatore. He comes in, 1 pitch, 1 out. Carl Everett pops foul to Batista. Frascatore and Batista came over in a trade last year in mid-season from the Arizona Diamondbacks in exchange for Dan Plesac, who in turn played a role with the Diamondbacks winning the West last year.
The Arizona Diamondbacks have not made many mistakes. When they brought Matt Williams and Jay Bell over, that was terrific. The big unit has been terrific. The trade for Manti last year worked.
Great.
Steve Finley worked. But they've got to question that deal just a little bit.
Well, Batista's not going to play third that way.
Well, but Batista played shortstop. And now all of a sudden they had to bring Womack in. They had to find a spot for him. Been a lot of converting going on over there. And Frascatore last year, 7-0, 7-1
yep.
with the Blue Jays. Pitched outstanding for them. Plesac does his job, but what do you want? You want a left-handed release specialist, or do you want a right-handed reliever and
a guy hits 30 homers
and 100 RBIs and is going to do it again?
Frascatore 7-1 with Toronto, as you mentioned, was 1-4 with Arizona before that. So a complete turnaround, but you know him as a Cardinal. So he pitched from 94 to 98, and that's pulled but foul by Troy O'Leary. Troy is 0 for 3 with a walk tonight and a run scored.
Elmo's got to be going crazy right now, knowing that he's going to make the difference of a run.
Oh! A pull cue and... Wow. We thought there would be some bizarre stuff tonight. That hit the bag. Hit the bag, so it took a carom off Delgado's leg. Graybeck was Johnny on the spot, but it was too late.
Delgado does everything he can do. Graybeck does everything he can do, but Frascatore does not do his job. Look at him there. You're supposed to break. You're supposed to go. He hesitates for a second. Now, Graybeck wants to throw it to him, but guess what? He's not there in time, and we've got ourselves a base hit.
That's the old Huckleberry on the shin, but there's nothing you can do about that. He's fortunate that he was able to block it. That goes down the line into the puddle in right field. Extra bases. Jeff Fry, 1 for 4, singled in the third.
So much more pressure on the visiting team's bullpen once you get into extra innings than the home team. Even if you give up a run as the home team, you know that your team has an opportunity to bat again.
Here goes the base runner, but it's popped up. O'Leary will have to retreat as Gonzalez goes to the outfield grass. 2 out. Following the game, Sports Center. Rich and Brian tonight. Rich Eisen, Brian Kenny. Could end in 1 minute. Could end. Could never end. Will they ever return? No. They'll never return, right? Can ride forever beneath the streets of Boston. This could be a game that never returns. The Kingston Trio. Song about the MTA. The local flavor. Admittedly, not a new song, but yet well time-tested. At any rate, Sports Center, whether I sing or not, will come on after the game is over. Jason Baratek bidding for his 4th hit. But instead, we bid adieu to the 10th inning and hello to the 11th. Carlos Delgado
Hit it off. What else can go wrong for the ailing Astros? They had a 7-0 lead on the Phillies, only to see Philadelphia come back in the ninth. Bobby Abreu with a 2-run bomb off of Billy Wagner. 9-7 Phils in the ninth. Long night in Houston and a long one in Boston, Chris.
Yeah, and it was really quite a ball game. Toronto with a 3-run run. It was a sharp played game at that point. A lot of walks early. And the rain delay kind of took a lot of the starch out of it. But hey, it's tie game at the 11th. Carlos Delgado, who led off the 9th, now leads off the 11th. Delgado's 2-run double. Rather, his double in the 7th inning began the 3-run 7th. My words in order here, Sud. I mean, it's...
Well, you've got to be cold. I mean, you just took your jacket off.
Well, I was in response to all my shirtless friends down there chanting my name between the inning. Least I could do was take the jacket off, you know. And they're there without their shirts. The least I can do is kind of grovel near them, not with them.
You can relate to them, can't you? You were there at one time.
I only took the shirt off. I was a Candlestick day game shirt off kind of guy. I don't know about a Fenway night game at 45 degrees.
But I'm talking about sticking around for games like that.
Oh, yeah. Oh, God, yes. Off the glove of Cormier. Into the glove of Sadler. Dug up by Daubach. Delgado's gone. Daylight come and Delgado go home.
You know, it's a tougher play than you think because of all of the rain. It's wet on that infield. Cormier knocks it down or it would have been a base hit. Now it bounces 2-3 times. There's moisture on that baseball. Donnie Sadler had to go through what Gaylord Perry spent a career doing right there with that foreign substance on the baseball, trying to get it where you want it. Sadler could see how Gaylord could get that thing to sink.
Tony Batista Driven a long way, but pulled foul off the facade. Last night against Pedro, with 2 runs home in the game. This was right down the line, and the ball just didn't move. I mean, that was one that was just sweetly struck. Time for another one. And an RBI sac fly in the 7th.
One thing all of these relievers have had in common, they have basically just stayed away. Bautista won something on the inner half. He can pull out of the ballpark. They know that you're not going to hit the ball out to the opposite field unless you're like Carlos Delgado. I mean, he's a guy that could do it. For the most part, normal human beings can't hit it out in conditions like this.
That's correct. We saw Daubach's blast. It would have made it many a night.
Not always how you hit him, but sometimes when you hit him.
Sadler boots it. Bautista aboard. That'll be an E6. First error of the evening.
Well, we probably wouldn't be in the 11th inning if Nomar Garciaparra were healthy and could have swung the bat tonight. You know, right now this is burning him up. Play we've seen him make many times. Donnie Sadler not able to come up with it. Toronto with a chance to take the lead. You know, there's a different type of concentration you have to have in games like this. After that rain delay, a lot of young guys like Donnie Sadler, they've not been in this situation. They don't realize you got to bear down even harder now than you were before.
Into the Red Sox dugout.
I promise you this, Sadler's bearing down right now. I mean, he's praying that he can make a play that will help keep this game tied, but it's too late. His concentration was not there on that last ground ball, and it may cost Boston.
0-1 the count for Brad Fulton. He's 0 for 1 with a walk. Came in the game midway as a pinch hitter for the right-handed DH Marty Corgold. Well, the good thing now is you hear every individual comment is audible. Oh boy. It's time to fire down another ball of chowder.
It might be time right now for Jim Fregosi to start putting somebody in motion.
Yes.
Finally got the count in the hitter's favor. Cormier needs to throw a strike. Fulmer, for the most part this year, making good contact, sometimes real good contact. Get somebody in motion, hit something in the gap, you might have yourself the lead.
Swung through with Fulmer, 2-2. Bautista talking with an eye on his first base coach, Bobby Knopf. Can you imagine? There's Bevington with the signals at third. Just thinking about Fregosi giving an eye over to Knopf at first. They were doing that in the infield for the Los Angeles Angels in the early 60s. Here we are in 2000. Are the wheels turning, you think, in the two dugouts?
There's a lot of things going on right now. I wouldn't be surprised to see Cormier at least throw to first one time. Don't let Bautista take off on your first move. He does that with the big high leg kick to Cormier. Catcher would have no chance. Take a look at it. Sometimes, if nothing else, just for effect.
Bautista with 2 stolen bases this year. That's another one in the dugout. So if nothing else, Fulmer is waking up the Red Sox on the bench, sending a couple of bouncers into the dugout. If nothing else. Position those Gatorade canisters just right to ward off those bouncers.
You know, it's times like this that veteran guys that have been on the bench a lot. You look for the heavier guys to sit next to. I mean, you need that warmth, and sometimes
that's a veteran call, Rick. I'll tell you that. Fisted to Fry. 2 out. Fulmer gone.
Still no motion out of Tony Batista.
Number 23, the center fielder, Jose Cruz.
Jose Cruz Jr. Nicknamed his dad, Jose Can You See Cruz? So this is now transferred from father to son. Grounder to Sadler. Shovel to Fry. Batista out. We go to the bottom of the 11th. Can we get to daisies by midnight? It'll depend on this at bat. Bambino Ale. Some Fenway Pale Ale. It's part of the... it's just a great little neighborhood here. Dawkins Way, Lansdowne Street. Of course, out past the Green Monster is the famed Cask and Flagon. Which actually, I walked past there yesterday, walking home from the game, or the hotel. And cleaned that place. It was a little cleaner than I can recall. There it is. The Cask and Flagon, down past Fisk's Pole.
That's one of the great things about Fenway and Wrigley. You can be in a car, you can be walking around. You have no idea. You think you're in a neighborhood, and all of a sudden, there's a ballpark there.
Yeah, it's amazing. It is amazing.
It's not like these big super stadiums where you see them from miles away. It's just, I mean, it is just built in the community.
Donnie Sadler to lead off the 11th, and Offerman and Valentin. Frascatore starts with a 2-1 count. Sadler, error, didn't cost the Red Sox. Now, and Batista is playing almost standing on the bag at third, really guarding against anything down the line.
And this is not a guy right here you want to walk. Maybe the quickest guy on the Boston Red Sox team. He gets on first base, he'll be off and running.
Now the count is full.
He's really been productive for him. He's at 316 coming into tonight's ball game. 1 for 3 on the night. 7 RBIs, 6 runs scored, and he's only played in 10 ball games.
Sitting 188 in Pawtucket, so they didn't expect that sort of plate production, Rick. And that's, oh, Sadler thought he had ball 4, but home plate umpire Jeff Nelson has rung him up.
Well, I thought on the 3-1 pitch he might have taken a swing at ball 4. This one here fools him. He thinks it's inside. Looks to be a pretty good pitch to me. But there he is. That's a strike.
You got to hack at it.
Yeah.
Can't be.
You know, and give a little credit to Jeff Nelson behind home plate, too. He knows that if Boston scores a run here, the game's over with. He can go back to his hotel room and warm up. He might want to go have one of those pale ales that you were talking about. But he's still making the calls. He's calling strikes, and balls. He's had a good night.
I think he might opt for a rum toddy. I don't think a pale ale is the call tonight.
Hard to tell. He's sitting there without your jacket.
Yeah, I just, I made the move. Offerman inside outside, and that'll be just into the seats. Jutting Park. Slip a little bit here on this swing. Sut?
I don't know if he slipped on the swing. Look at right there.
Oh, yeah.
That back leg.
That'll be good for you.
That'll hurt the left hamstring and the right knee.
Get out the Wally absorbing joiner at that one. Hey, we're going extra. Hey, we're emptying the garage now.
Wally actually called me today.
How is Wally? We saw him last week with Atlanta.
Doing great.
I tell you what, I, for about 3 years, got cases once a year, a thank you note from the people that make Absorbine Junior.
Yeah.
They would send a case. Now, there's some cases that don't take forever to go through. You cannot go through a case of Absorbine Junior in a year. So everybody on Baseball Tonight got one. The extra strength, you know, I'd give to some of the guys. Sherry smelling Absorbine Junior went to somebody else. 3-2 the pitch. Down the right field. Boy, Offerman's starting to time it. Getting close. Offerman is 0 for 4 with 2 Ks. And a walk. Up. That moved first base coach Tommy Harper back in a Red Sox uniform after about 15 years of other spots. Tommy won a stolen base title here as a Red Sox. He won them elsewhere. Tommy Harper was a Seattle Pilot. How about that? I think, as a matter of fact, let me check because I looked this up today. 73 stolen bases to lead the American League as a 1969 Seattle Pilot.
Not much left in either bullpen tonight.
Ball bounces past, and Offerman will be going nowhere. Fletcher calls time. Let's look at the ball, but the winning run is aboard, and John Valentin steps up.
Number 13, the third baseman, John Valentin.
Swinging at the first pitch and popping it up in the infield is Valentin. Raybeck squeezes it, 2 outs.
Well, Valentin, his timing tonight just looks to be a little bit off. That's a hanging breaking ball right there. If you're going to hit something out, that's a pretty good pitch to take a swing at it. But the swing of John Valentin just a little bit behind the velocity of that pitch and results in a weak little fly ball to second.
Les Trot Nixon delivers. Since the third inning. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. 8 innings. As we stand right now, 7 2/3. No runs and 3 hits. Allowed by Escobar and Bourbon, Quantrill, and now Frascatore.
Well, you know, just 7 hits on the night for Boston. All 3 of their runs have scored via the base on ball. You're not going to hit a ball out of here unless you just absolutely crush it and hit it down one of the line. I just find it hard to believe there's not any motion. Offerman's 0 for 3 in stolen base attempts, but hey, you know, you can get a pitch in the dirt, you can get a bad throw from the catcher. The outfield is so deep right now, there's not going to be anything hitting the gap unless it's a bullet. You send him, the throw goes into center field, he gets down to third, the wild pitch, you don't need another base hit.
Batista and Fletcher to give it a chase. Now 4 rows in. 2-2 the count. 1 strike away from the 12th. Yankees won tonight. Finally did some hitting. Boston needs the win to stay in first place by themselves. There goes the base runner, driven down the left field line. Foul.
Well, you might not be able to get the baseball into the gap because of the outfielder so deep, but you can definitely put it up on that green monster and watch Jose Offerman run for a while.
Yeah, well, he was off and running. If it had hit the monster, he would have come home. Would have had to be a pretty good throw. 2-2 the count to Trot Nixon.
Delgado holding the runner on. He'll stay right there at home to guard the line for a ground ball. Same thing happening down at third, even though you got Trot Nixon, a left-handed, normally a pull hitter up there. Tony Batista having to protect that line. Pretty good holes there on the infield, but unless Offerman were to get into scoring position, a ground ball through that infield is not going to result in a run.
Now, Nixon just went back to the bat boy and traded in his two-tone bat for one all white.
This one might be a little bit lighter. Maybe you can.
Yeah.
The ball was only fouled by about 10 feet.
Maybe this is the one in the natural. Maybe it's that bat. Oh, he rips it down the line. Just foul. So he just missed down the left field line. Takes that new all-white bat and just missed down the right field line. I would go with the cherry color bat and drive it to straight center if I were Nixon right now.
But did I not tell you this was a lighter bat?
Yeah.
Huh? Look how easy it is. Look at him. Oh. You know, it's probably like a 30-ounce bat. He needs the 30.5-ounce bat. Everybody on the bench, hey.
Oh.
And you got to be careful. I've been on these benches here in Fenway, and you know, especially a guy our height, you jump up too quick.
Oh man.
Oh my God.
No, we were 6'4", we're 6'1".
And the worst thing is, these hats, you got that little button on top of it.
Oh, Offerman, remember now we saw him slip in the batter's box? We showed it to you. Now he's out of there. Holds something. Feels it tightened up.
Well, he may have tweaked it when he tried to get out of the batter's box. And now he might have full-blown it because he was off and running on both of those fly balls. One down the left field, one down the right field. It's something to do with his legs. Take a look at him one more time here. He's going around second. It's gone. It's gone. It looks like something maybe in the left hamstring area.
Manny Alexander, the pinch runner. Count still 2-2 to Nixon. He's peppered each line. Base hit. Mondesi with a good arm, and everyone knows it. Alexander stops at second with 2 out. So,
well, the difference in this ball game right now, it's been outstanding relief pitching, but the defense of Raul Mondesi is the reason we're still here. Back in the bottom of the third inning, it was a base hit by Jeff Fry that he cut off in the gap. Had it gone for extra base hits, Fry would have been on second or third. The next guy back, Veritek, got a base hit. He would have scored. Back in the bottom of the ninth, Brian Daubach hit a line drive. Mondesi made a great effort getting to it. He hauled it down to keep the game tied. And here it was just the respect for the arm of Raul Mondesi. We showed how deep Mondesi was playing. I mean, if you're ever going to go from first to third on a base hit, that's the one. The ball was rolling slow by the time it got to Mondesi. Alexander with good speed.
One of our favorites, third base coach Wendell Kim, out to talk to Alexander. But Nomar would not be a base coach. He was waving the runner to third, huh?
Well, I tell you why it's important, because a wild pitch at third base, you're going to score. And even with if you're on third base, the pitcher's going to be more reluctant to bounce that breaking ball. Well, when they don't want to bounce it because they're afraid of the wild pitch costing them the game, every now and then they'll leave it up in the zone and it gets whacked.
Not great at all with runners in scoring position. But a bad night in that department can be perfect. With just an excuse-me single for Brian Daubach. Towards the top of the order had done no hitting. Nixon had base hits in his last 2 at-bats. Nixon makes it perfectly clear that he's trying to end this game. Daubach is the one who can actually do it. To left field, is it a wall scraper? It is a wall goner! Brian Daubach, who just missed ending this game in the 9th inning, has ended it in the 11th. A 3-run shot with 2 out in the 11th has given the Red Sox the 6-3 victory.
These Boston Red Sox seem to be in every ball game, and somehow, more times than not, they find a way to win it. Man in scoring position. I can't hit it out to right field. I already found that out earlier in the game. Maybe I can get it on the wall in left. Not only did I get it on the wall, I got it beyond, and we're going to go home.
Here it is, home run number 9 for Brian Daubach. And the gritty Red Sox put an end to their brief 3-game losing streak. Real Cormier will win it. Frascatore will lose it. And the Red Sox remain in first over the Yankees by a game. Well played down the end, big-time pitching. You can see why these two teams will be in it for the long run.
You got to think back a long ways, but there was some outstanding starting pitching tonight. Be interested to see what happens tomorrow. Both bullpens are going to be thin.
So the rubber game will be tomorrow night at this 3-game set. It's been a presentation of ESPN, the worldwide leader in sports. For more, log on to ESPN.com, part of the Go Network, go.com. For Rick Sutcliffe, I'm Chris Berman.